Chapter 1380. Great Judge Immortal turned his head, only to see Su Yun standing behind him, and the dual moon swords in his hands had directly pierced through his body. However, in the face of such a situation, Great Judge Immortal did not panic at all. He looked at Su Yun behind him indifferently, and then said, "What an exquisite illusion technique. I've really been deceived by you guys. It's just that this situation is too abnormal, and it's exposed everything. Your despicable methods will never be able to fool my eyes." Great Judge Immortal said indifferently, then raised his hand again and pointed at Su Yun behind him. The finger gently pressed on Su Yun's forehead, the fingertip releasing specks of starlight. Maybe Su Yun did not even have the time to notice, but when the finger touched him, his body once again turned into particles and scattered in all directions. However, just as the immortal leader thought that he had broken the illusion, another sharp sword pierced through his body without hesitation. Poochie! His body trembled. He looked at the sharp sword that had pierced through his chest, only to see that there was a layer of faint blue light on the surface of the sword, and the pain in his chest was extremely real. He frowned and looked to the side. The man in the black cloak had a face full of killing intent. It was extremely terrifying. Could it be another illusion? That's not right. Great Judge Immortal's expression changed. He immediately extended his hand and slapped toward Su Yun. This time, Su Yun did not foolishly stand in place and let it kill him, but leaped backwards, dodging the attack, but in the process of leaping back, his body turned into smoke and disappeared. This time, Great Judge Immortal understood. He lowered his head to look at his chest. There was only one injury. It was the injury caused by Su Yun just now. That attack just now was not an illusion, but a real one. Great Judge Immortal took a deep breath. His pair of dim eyes suddenly released a burst of light, as though he was about to activate some sort of technique. But just at this moment, the illusions in the surroundings suddenly shattered with a bang, and at the instant the illusions were destroyed, three figures rushed over. Their movements were swift, and their attacks were sharp, as if they had been accumulating their strength for a long time. It turned out that Su Yun and the other two knew that the Great Judge Immortal had already sensed that it was an illusion technique, so they released it and took the opportunity to launch another attack. The Immortal Grand Judge didn't expect the three of them to dispel the illusion on their own. He was still channeling his magic, but when he saw this, he quickly gathered his strength to block the three's attacks. However, his movements were abnormally slow, and he didn't have time to defend himself. He looked down and saw that a blue whirlwind had appeared on his body. It was swirling around his limbs and torso, disrupting the immortal chi and immortal power in his body. Had these guys planned this from the start? Grand Judge Immortal gave up. Dong, 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 dong. The trio's attacks landed on Grand Elder Immortal's body without holding back. Shockwaves of destructive energy rippled outwards with him as the epicenter. Soul-shattering explosions rang out in all directions. The three of them had used all their strength in this attack, so the shockwaves sent them flying. The three of them were forced back 1,000 meters before stopping. They tried their best to stabilize their bodies, and the first thing they did was to look at Grand Elder Immortal, who was in the center of the explosion. The aftermath of the explosion gradually dissipated, and Grand Elder Immortal's figure appeared in everyone's line of sight. When attacking Grand Elder Immortal, the Lord of the Divine Eagle Race had cast a mystical spell on himself and Su Yun, causing the attacks of the three of them to be able to break through his defense. As expected, Grand Elder Immortal's body was blasted into pieces. Both of his arms were destroyed, both of his legs were broken, and his body was riddled with holes. It was a tragic sight, and multicolored blood flowed out from the holes on his body. Good. Seeing that, the holy demon Flame cried out in joy. Follow up with your attacks. Don't give him a chance to catch his breath. Everyone attack. Su Yun's face turned cold, and he immediately rushed forward. If he didn't attack now, when would he? The Lord of the Divine Eagle Race and the holy demon Flame were not fools. They seized the opportunity and rushed forward. When fighting with such a super expert, they had to seize every second. If they missed it, it could affect the entire situation. However, Grand Elder Immortal's methods were beyond their expectations. When the three of them rushed over, Grand Elder Immortal's broken body suddenly released a circle of rainbow light. After the rainbow light passed, the world immediately turned pitch black, and the three of them immediately stopped. The surrounding wind, clouds, people, and objects were all stopped. It was as if he had pressed the pause button of this world, suppressing everything. However, everyone's thoughts and consciousness were still clear. What was going on? Su-Yun's eyes were wide open. He did not dare believe what he was seeing. In this short period of time, Grand Elder Immortal's broken body began to quickly grow again. The rainbow light circulating around his body was like the most miraculous healing light. Wherever it passed, his flesh and blood would all recover, and in a few blinks of an eye, he had recovered to his original state. A powerful confinement technique, a terrifying recovery speed. The confinement ended, and the pitch-black world returned to light. However, Grand Elder Immortal seemed to be fine. How is this possible? The Lord of the Divine Eagle race muttered. This bastard, could it be that he can't be killed? Holy Demon Huiyan's face was also lifeless. Su-Yun secretly snorted. The dual moon sword in his hands was gripped even tighter. Looks like I have to get serious. Grand Elder Immortal had already lost his patience. His dim eyes had already become bright, and the halo of light emitted by his entire body gradually weakened until it disappeared, revealing his original appearance. It was an ordinary-looking person. He had no hair, his head was bald, and he had no eyebrows. His eyes were not big, and his figure was moderate. His entire body was covered by a layer of grayish-black leather clothes. He did not have any ornaments on his body, nor did he carry any weapons. Even his hands were clean. He did not wear any rings, and there was no space bag on his waist. If the leather clothes on his body were to be taken off, he would be completely naked. And such a person, he was the ruler of the entire immortal world, the emperor of countless immortals in the immortal world. Is this your original appearance? Su-Yun said indifferently. A person's appearance is just a bag of skin. Why should I care? Furthermore, I am about to take off this layer of skin and become the most special existence in this world. At that time, who would remember their former ugly appearance? You still know that you are ugly? Humans are filthy after all. Nonsense. Su-Yun raised his sword and rushed forward again. The Lord of the Divine Eagle race and the Holy Demon Huiyan immediately responded. However, at this moment, Grand Elder Celestial was no longer as relaxed as before. Instead, he took the initiative to attack. He raised his hands and pointed at the Holy Devil Fire and Clan Leader Condor on his left and right. He shouted, "Change!" Crash! The bodies of the two of them immediately burst out with a large amount of illusory light. They twisted and turned as they let out waves of painful cries. Su-Yun's heart trembled. He looked at the two of them, only to see that in that short period of time, their bodies had all changed. One of them had turned into a little bird, while the other had turned into a turtle, falling straight into the sky. Illusion technique? But what level of illusion technique does it take to have an effect on these two? This kind of illusion technique usually had a prerequisite, and that was to absolutely suppress the opponent's aura. This was because only by completely suppressing the opponent's strength to zero could one change as they wished. Otherwise, if the opponent's aura was difficult to suppress, they could attack at any time and destroy the technique. Su-Yun was shocked, but he did not know how to dispel the technique, so he could only clench his teeth and continue to rush towards Grand Elder Immortal. After Grand Elder Immortal transformed the two of them into animals, he raised his hand and pointed at Su-Yun. Change! But just as he said that, Su-Yun suddenly disappeared. Grand Elder Immortal frowned and looked to the side, only to see a gust of wind blowing towards him. Su-Yun held the sword in one hand and the fan in the other, crazily fanning towards Grand Elder Immortal. However, he thought that the great immortal judge would be blown away, and that Su-Yun would be able to buy some time to save the Holy Demon Fire and the Divine Eagle Race leader. Unexpectedly, the great immortal judge did not move at all. No matter how hard the profound, venerable Lu Yu fanned, he could not move at all. What was going on? The mystic flowing feather fan had no effect on him? Su Yun was startled. How was this possible? Just then, Grand Elder Immortal raised his hand again and pointed at Su Yun. This time, you won't be able to escape. Grand Elder Immortal said indifferently, and then shouted again. Change. If he was hit by this technique, Su Yun would be completely finished. He did not dare to be careless. Knowing that he could not dodge, he immediately used all the strength in his body to condense millions of flying swords and attacked Grand Elder Immortal. At the same time, he threw out the dual moon sword in his hand. Whiz! Countless sword images flew towards Grand Elder Immortal. Crash! Just then, Su Yun's body also blossomed with light. Following that, a pain as if his tendons and bones were being torn apart came from all over his body. He let out a low roar, knowing that he had also been hit by Grand Elder Immortal's technique. However, this did not mean that it was over. At this moment, the countless sword images surrounded Grand Elder Immortal. Taking advantage of the fact that Grand Elder Immortal had yet to stop, the dual moon sword fiercely slashed towards Grand Elder Immortal's arm. Poochie! His arm was directly cut off. Grand Elder Immortal's face tensed up. Looking at his right arm that was spurting blood, a look of surprise flashed past his eyes. He remembered that Su Yun's cultivation did not seem to be able to break through his defense. Unless he looked towards the dual moon sword, only to see that the sharp sword's edge was actually flickering with a light blue light. Wasn't this the unique technique of the Eagle God tribe leader? With his arm chopped off, the chi in his body was in a mess. In that moment, the three of them recovered from the change. Seeing a gray feather float down from Su Yun's side, Grand Elder Immortal seemed to have sensed something. From the start, everyone had already prepared a method to break Grand Elder Immortal's body. Seems like the Eagle Clan leader gave you this technique's sealing scroll, was to let you deal with me? It's a pity that although you can break it once, you can't break it all the time. Grand Elder Immortal said indifferently. After that, he gathered his chi, and the broken arm instantly grew back. He raised his hand again and pointed at Su Yun and the Eagle God tribe leader, and said indifferently, When I turn you into beasts, I will cripple your cultivation and make you slaves for all eternity. With that said, he shouted again, Change! Chapter 1381. Grand Immortal Judge's divine technique was ever-changing and profound. No one dared to doubt his strength. Seeing that he was about to use that strange illusion technique again, the three of them hurriedly dispersed. However, it was extremely difficult to avoid this spell. There were no signs or signs of this spell. It was a spell that was directly cast on a person's body. It was simply impossible to guard against. Buried in the same grave, just as Su Yun and the divine eagle race leader were unable to dodge and were once again turned into animals by the great immortal judge, the holy fire devil king suddenly clashed his fists and shouted loudly. Suddenly, a huge hole appeared in the sky, and hot magma gushed out from the hole, pouring onto the grand immortal judge's body. The spell was forcibly interrupted, and the grand immortal judge was frozen by the magma, turning into a stone statue. I want you dead! Holy Demon Fire roared angrily as he charged forward once again, his massive fists smashing towards the stone statue. But before his fist could land, the stone statue shattered. Grand Judge Celestial turned to look at him, but didn't retaliate. Bang! The fist landed on Grand Immortal Judge's body. As expected, the Holy Devil Fire's body exploded, and he was sent flying. Once again, he diverted the opponent's attack to the opponent. Too difficult to deal with. He couldn't fight, and if he didn't fight, he would only be waiting to be destroyed. Would there be any flaws in such an opponent? Su Yun looked at the Holy Demon Fire. This time, he did not use too much power, so after being sent flying, his injuries were not too serious. However, how should he deal with the strange methods of the great immortal judge? He couldn't fight, but he could not fight either. Let's end it. Great Judge Immortal muttered indifferently, then closed his eyes. Following that, 12 light figures appeared around Su Yun and the rest. The light figures quickly transformed, and all of them transformed into Great Judge Immortal. The Divine Eagle Tribe leader scanned the surroundings. When he saw the 12 phantoms, his face turned as white as a sheet. He had finally used his killing move. This could it be what? Holy Fiend Fire still didn't understand. But in the next second, he understood. The 12 figures were all grand immortal lords, and all of them were pointing at the 3 cultivators. It's over, the Eagle God Clan leader muttered. These 12 figures actually knew that strange sacred art. This time, it was impossible for Su Yun and the other 2 to escape. There were no blind spots in the surroundings. Was there no way out? No. He couldn't continue to sit and wait for death. Su Yun's eyes turned cold. He activated the sky plucking hand again, directly grabbing toward the main body of the great immortal judge. He instantly appeared beside him. The double moon sword flew over and slashed towards him. The azure halo on the blade suddenly shone brightly. However, even if this sword managed to hit the grand immortal judge, what would be the point? Instead, he activated all of the god power in his body and started to absorb Su Yun's immortal power. He seemed to have a method similar to the Imperial Battle Robe, so if he got close, he would not be afraid of Su Yun. Since Su Yun's sword could not kill him, he did not suffer any losses. The chi that he absorbed from Su Yun's body was enough for him to repair his damaged body. Walla, walla, walla. In the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint, illusionary light burst forth from the 3 of them. Following that, the feeling of their tendons and bones being dislocated surged up again. It was all over. Once they were affected by the divine ability, the 3 of them would lose all their strength and would be at the mercy of Grand Elder Immortal. Such a method could be said to be heaven-defying. What? At this moment, Grand Elder Immortal suddenly sensed that something was wrong. His expression changed as he looked to the side. But before he could react, his body suddenly shattered, turning into 1,000 pieces that floated in the air. The 12 figures in the surroundings collapsed in an instant, and the spell was forcibly eliminated. The pain of the 3 of them immediately disappeared. The Lord of the Divine Eagle Race and the Holy Demon Fire Flame were both stunned. They looked around in shock, as though they had yet to recover from their shock. After a long while, they finally noticed something and looked at Su Yun in shock. They saw Su Yun holding onto the sword with one hand. The sharp sword had already slashed down, but what made the 2 of them especially afraid was the layer of grayish-black chi wrapped around the sword. This aura was simply unimaginable, especially the baleful aura above. Even the Lord of the Divine Eagle Race and the Holy Demon Fire Flame found it hard to endure. The 2 of them didn't even dare to approach. What's going on? Why did Grand Elder Immortal suddenly? Holy Demon Fire Flame was stunned. That aura is so powerful. This is definitely not Su Yun's aura. Su Yun, what did you do? The Lord of the Divine Eagle Race's face was pale white as he asked in fear. However, this time, Su Yun did not have the time to bother with the Lord of the Divine Eagle Race. He took out a small, transparent sword from somewhere and directly pierced towards the double moon sword's blade. Poochie! The body of the sword was actually pierced through by that unassuming little sword, and the aura on the body of the sword seemed to be absorbed by the sword, quickly pouring into the little sword. In the blink of an eye, the transparent little sword turned pitch black, and the double moon sword gradually returned to its original appearance. However, the last strand of black chi did not completely enter the small sword. Instead, it lingered around the double moon sword's body and finally entered the double moon sword. The sword's blade was darker than before. Su Yun's expression was extremely sinister and terrifying. He grabbed onto the hilt of the small sword and tried his best to pull it out. The small sword slowly moved outwards, and after a long while, it was completely separated from the double moon sword's blade. After pulling out the small sword, Su Yun immediately fell down. His entire body was drenched in sweat. He was gasping for breath. The immortal chi in his body had actually been completely emptied. What spell did he use just now? It actually consumed such a huge amount of energy. The Lord of the Divine Eagle Race rushed over and hugged Su Yun. "Are you all right?" The Lord of the Divine Eagle Race asked. "I'm fine, but," Su Yun said weakly. But before he could finish his words, another strange sound came from the place where the great immortal judge's body had shattered. The circles of shattered residue slowly gathered together, as if there were signs of rebirth. However, the residue was still attached with a pitch-black aura, as if it was preventing them from piecing together. "Not good. The great immortal judge is going to be reborn again." The holy demon Fire cried out in alarm. "I have to think of a way to trap him." The holy demon Fire immediately opened his mouth and spat out flames, intending to burn the fragments. But the fragments seemed to be impervious to water and fire, unable to be destroyed, unable to be destroyed, unable to be destroyed, unable to be destroyed, unable to be stopped by any means. They were like light, but stronger than light, slowly gathering towards the center. The Lord of the Divine Eagle Race's eyes turned cold. He suddenly thought of something. He rushed to the front of the great immortal judge's fragment, took out a pearl, and threw it at the fragments. Those fragments seemed to be attracted by a magnetic force, and they all spiraled toward the pearl. In the blink of an eye, they were completely absorbed by the pearl, and the azure pearl also became pitch black. "This is the 9-God-Wind Heavenly Pearl?" The holy demon Fire cried out. "The 9-God-Wind Heavenly Pearl is actually not a magic treasure. It is the main source of the wind power of my Divine Eagle Race. Inside it is the supreme power of my Divine Eagle Race. Now, I am relying on its power to barely block the fragments of the great immortal judge's body, temporarily suppressing its soul, but it will not last for long. I believe that it will not be long before it reconstructs its body and recovers. At that time, even a 9-God-Wind Heavenly Pearl will not be able to suppress it." The Lord of the Divine Eagle Race said solemnly, "Since that's the case, we should think of a way to completely exterminate it. Let's not talk so much for now. Su Yun's situation is not looking good. Let's temporarily retreat and make some plans. The 9-God-Wind Heavenly Pearl can at least seal the great immortal judge for 3 days. We still have some time." The Lord of the Divine Eagle Race said, "All right, then let's go take care of those immortal court people in front." The holy demon Fire said as he directly rushed forward. The Lord of the Divine Eagle Race was not as reckless as the holy demon Fire. He saw that Su Yun's expression was not right, and after thinking for a while, he brought him to a secluded place to recuperate. Su Yun's face was extremely pale, but within the paleness, there was a trace of black chi that was hard to detect. Even if the Lord of the Divine Eagle Race's power was pure, it would not be easy for him to nourish Su Yun's dried-up body. What was going on? After a moment, Su Yun slowly opened his eyes. Looking at his aura, it seemed to have improved a lot. "Su Yun, what exactly is going on? Why is it that after you killed the great immortal judge, your own condition is so bad? I just peeked into your body and discovered that your current speed of infusion has actually decreased by half." The Lord of the Divine Eagle Race hurriedly asked. All sorts of doubts were trapped in his heart, making him feel extremely uncomfortable. "Actually, it wasn't me who killed the great immortal judge. It was the sword chi of the evil sword that killed the great immortal judge." Su Yun raised his hand and looked at it, only to see that between his 5 fingers there seemed to be traces of grayish-black chi lingering. Ominous sword chi? The Lord of the Divine Eagle Race's heart jumped. He secretly praised the kid. He actually dared to use such a thing. Did he not want to live anymore? "Yes. Actually, I already knew that with my methods, I would not be able to do anything to the great immortal judge. His body is very strong, and even if I could break it, I would not be able to destroy it. So I specially went to find the sword spirit of the evil sword, and with her help, I obtained a strand of the evil sword chi and sealed it in this special treasure. My goal is to catch the great immortal judge off guard and kill him in one move, but the great immortal judge's strength far exceeded my expectations, and the ominous sword chi is also much more terrifying than I had imagined." He looked at the dual moon sword floating beside him and said indifferently, "Now, not only me, even the sword beside me, has been corroded by the ominous sword chi, and from the looks of it, This chi cannot be expelled. Then what should we do? The lord of the divine eagle race frowned. The rumor of the ominous sword destroying the world is known by countless people in the 10,000 worlds. This ominous sword chi, I'm afraid it will also affect people's minds, right? I'm not too sure about that. Su Yun gasped for breath. He seemed to have sensed the lord of the divine eagle race's worries, and said, "If my mind is really controlled by the ominous sword chi, Lord, you have the right to kill me." Let's talk about this later. Let's first talk about how to deal with the great immortal judge. The lord of the divine eagle race said, and took out the 9 god-wind heavenly beads. Through the bead, one could see the great immortal judge's broken body slowly gathering towards the center, and now it had already condensed into a head. Chapter 1382. Suyin did not know what use the 9 divine wind heavenly beads had, and it was not convenient for him to ask the divine eagle clan leader. However, since it could temporarily seal the great immortal court, everyone still had time to fight. After the great immortal court was sealed, the holy demon fire immediately turned around and charged into the battlefield between the immortal court army and the alliance army. Facing such a powerful great demon, the immortal court army was unable to resist. The sword god Ishao was pinned down by the sword ancestor and had no time to care about anything else, and none of the remaining immortal court experts could fight against the holy demon fire. Under the leadership of the holy demon fire, the immortal court army retreated step by step and could no longer fight against Su Yun's alliance army. On Su Yun's side, the immortal, devil, nether, and demon powers were in a mess. Although the allied forces were complicated and varied, the hearts of the people were surprisingly united. This was because destroying the immortal court was the common wish of these people. If they had the same Tao, how could they not work together? On the other hand, the situation in the immortal court was completely different. The group of immortal court people that great immortal judge had gathered were relatively loyal and worked very hard to fight against these enemies. However, those immortals who had been subdued by him by force might not be the same. Although some of them wanted to follow great immortal judge, most of them were extremely disgusted by his ruthless methods. Moreover, great immortal judge had killed their friends and relatives. As a result, not long after the war broke out, a group of immortals turned around and attacked the immortal court army. The immortal court army was already no match for them, and under such circumstances, it became increasingly difficult for them to hold on. This seemingly grand war only lasted for half a day, and it ended with the retreat of the immortal court army. However, the alliance army wanted to eliminate the roots. The immortal court army retreated, but the alliance army continued to chase after them. With the help of the divine eagle clan, the alliance army speed was extremely fast. They caught up to the immortal court army one by one, and those who were unwilling to surrender were killed without mercy. Gradually, the casualties of the immortal court army increased, and those who could not escape also began to kneel down and surrender. Facing such an army, they no longer had the ability to resist. Furthermore, the existence of the holy demon fire and the great immortal court army that had not appeared for a long time made them feel even more despair. When Su Yun was brought to the battlefield by the divine eagle clan leader, the battle had already ended. The immortal court army had either fled or surrendered and had been completely extinguished. The annihilation of this force meant that the era of the immortal court was at its lowest point. The reason why it wasn't over yet was because the great judge of immortal court wasn't dead. Su Yun did not dare to use the sword chi anymore. If not, his body and soul would not be able to withstand it, and the only thing that could completely shatter the grand elder immortal was the power of the evil sword. This time, trapping the great judge immortal palace was Su Yun and the rest's only chance. If they missed it, there would not be another chance. The remaining people of the immortal Lyceum would not amount to much. Whether the immortal Lyceum could be destroyed depended on the immortal Grand Judge. As long as the immortal Grand Judge was alive, there would be no peace in the immortal world. Su Yun did not want his men to continue to hunt down the remaining people of the immortal Lyceum. It was meaningless. Thus, he threw his hands away and began to reorganize the army. Of course, even if they used the Divine Eagle Clan's magic to increase their speed, it would still take them 2 to 3 days to return to the secret base. By that time, the Grand Immortal Judge would have already come out. Thus, at that moment, Su Yun gathered all the people in charge and experts to discuss how to deal with the Grand Elder who was about to rush out of the 9 Divine Wind Heavenly Jewel. On a secluded cloud, the Holy Devil Flame and the Divine Eagle Clan leader stood in front, and below them were the Nether Empress, Faceless, and the rest. Qin Xianlong, Xing Bai, Wei Ming, Kai Tian, Xiang Yang, and the rest had just arrived, and they cupped their fists and bowed to Su Yun, the Divine Eagle Clan leader and the Holy Devil Flame. After most of the people had arrived, the Divine Eagle Clan leader spoke. Time is of the essence, so I will make it short. Although we have temporarily gained the upper hand in the battle against the Immortal Lyceum, I want to tell you that our danger is not over, because there is one person who has not died, and this person is extremely difficult for us to deal with. If we do not kill him, we will not be able to be at peace. As the Divine Eagle Clan leader spoke, he threw out the 9 Divine Wind Heavenly Jewel in his hand. The bead floated in the air and rotated lightly. Everyone's gaze was immediately attracted by the bead. Seeing the fragments of the bead, many of them were extremely curious. However, when they saw that the fragments had been pieced together, they were all shocked. That person was a head. It was the head of the Grand Elder. Seeing the head, everyone was shocked, and at the same time they were stunned. The Divine Eagle Clan leader did not want to keep them in suspense, so he directly spoke and roughly explained the situation. In other words, before the Grand Elder rushes out of the 9 Divine Wind Heavenly Jewel, we have to completely destroy him. Isn't 3 days too tight? Qin Xianlong frowned. There aren't 3 days left. Now that I think about it, it might only be a little more than 2 days. Don't talk about anything important. To be able to suppress him for 3 days is already very lucky. Su Yun's weak voice came out. Then, Master, what should we do? Xingbai asked. Then, Su Yun glanced at him and shook his head. I don't know, with my current state, I'm afraid I can't do anything, much less destroy the Grand Elder. Now is a discussion. Let's see what ideas you have. The Divine Eagle Clan leader said indifferently. Ideas? Wei Ming shook his head and said in a low voice, the Grand Elder's body has such a strong recovery ability. Even after it is broken, it can still reform. This is most likely because of the strength of his soul, and the strength of his soul is beyond imagination. He can use the energy of his soul to reform his broken body, and can also quickly recover his broken body. If we cannot kill his soul, everything will be useless, but destroying his soul should be very difficult. Why not use a magic treasure to pull his soul out of the pearl, and then crush it? Wouldn't that be enough? These words sounded reasonable, but the Divine Eagle Clan leader pointed out bluntly. The reason why the Grand Elder is difficult to kill is because his source of power does not come from his body, but from his soul. I do not know what method he used to make his soul so strong, which means his soul is his source of power. If you want to pull his soul out from his body, then his soul will use an astonishing technique to quickly condense a body. Like that. It is equivalent to you rescuing him from the imprisonment of the 9 Divine Wind Heavenly Jewel. If that is the case, the situation will be even worse. Soul? The crowd did not understand. The Divine Eagle Clan leader took a light breath and said in a low voice, Perhaps you do not understand, but it is very difficult for me to explain it to you now. The Grand Elder's current realm has reached the stage where he can transform into a body. His soul is immortal, and he is one with the heavens and earth. If we do not destroy his soul, we cannot kill him. Then use the illusory prison formation that specifically targets the soul. Let his soul experience the pain of being torn apart, and then die. Kai Tian said, It is useless. His soul is not as weak as an ordinary immortal's soul. His soul might be even stronger than your body. The clan leader rejected. Then directly throw the 9 Divine Wind Heavenly Jewel into the Doomsday Magma, and use it to destroy him, Xiang Yang said. What the hell is that Doomsday Magma? Is it as hot as me? Even I cannot harm the Grand Elder. What use is that Doomsday Magma? Holy Demon Fire shouted. Xiang Yang shrunk his neck. not daring to say a word. I am afraid that ordinary material destruction will not be able to harm the Grand Elder's soul, much less kill him. Actually, Lord, I also doubt your point of view. If his soul is really only strong, then why is his soul still safe and sound when facing the sword chi of the evil sword? Could it be that the strength of his soul is higher than the sword chi of the evil sword? I do not believe this, so he should have some special magic treasure. And when the evil sword attacked, his magic treasure coincidentally allowed his vitals to avoid the sword chi of the evil sword, causing him to be unable to be killed. Su Yun said, "If we do not find his magic treasure and think of a way to break through it, then the Grand Elder will not die, and we will be killed by him one by one sooner or later. The immortal court will be reorganized, and the situation in the immortal world will still be unable to be opened. All of our efforts will still be in vain, and in the end, everything will still be the same." With that said, everyone fell into silence. Su Yun was not trying to scare them. Everyone had witnessed the strength of the Grand Elder. How could someone who could dominate the immortal world for so many years be killed so easily? Even if they found someone who was on par with him, what could they do to him? An undying body was absolute invincibility. You're wrong to think that way. At this moment, a voice came from afar. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice. There were many immortals around, and they did not care about them approaching. They saw a group of immortals dressed in the clothes of the immortal court flying over from afar. When these people appeared, the experts of the allied forces immediately became nervous. The army was here, yet these people dared to come over so brazenly. The other party must have some ulterior motives. However, Su Yun waved his hand and shouted, "Don't be nervous, they are on our side." "Are they here to provide us with information?" Qianlong asked. Su Yun nodded. The people who came were Xiao, Chua, and the others. This time, she was not the only one who came. She had also brought some trustworthy friends with her. Su Yun looked at Xiao Chua, and Xiao Chua also looked at him. Seeing that Su Yun's expression was not good, Xiao Chua frowned. "Su Yun, what's wrong?" "I'm fine." "Xiao Chua, what did you mean when you said we were wrong?" Su Yun did not care about anything else and asked directly. "What I'm trying to say is that your way of thinking is wrong. The great immortal judge isn't an invincible existence. In this world, there is no such thing as an invincible existence. He can be defeated. What you said about a powerful soul or something that prevents him from being hurt should also be wrong. Although I don't know why the great immortal judge can regenerate his body infinitely, I have a vague feeling that he must be relying on something to preserve his body forever." Xiao Chua said. Hearing that, Su Yun and the others immediately became nervous. "What is it?" Su Yun asked. Chapter 1383. Ever since the encampment of the immortal court was destroyed, the activities of the great immortal lord have been under our watch. Without a cultivation ground at the top of the immortal court for him to use, he only ordered people to demarcate an area for his cultivation. As the Minister of Resources of the immortal court, I have to send a lot of resources to the great immortal court every day, so I have some contact with him. From the information I obtained, I found out that the great immortal lord would spend one day conquering other immortal sects every 7 days to obtain resources for his cultivation and fill up the empty immortal court. His means are very powerful. Ordinary immortal sects can't last more than 2 hours against him. Those who are slightly more tenacious can only last less than an hour. However, after each battle, the great immortal lord didn't immediately return to the temporary encampment of the immortal court. Instead, he would disappear for half a day. No one knew where he went and what he did during this half a day. That's why I'm guessing that Grand Immortal Judge's strength has something to do with this. If we can find out where he was during this half a day, perhaps it'll be a great help in eliminating him. Xiao Chua said to Su Yun seriously. Su Yun was silent. What you said is indeed suspicious, but we don't have any clues right now. How can we know where Grand Immortal Lord went? If they started the investigation now, they wouldn't have enough time. There were only 2 days left. Instead of doing that, why don't we set up more formations and make more preparations? Once it appears, we can think of a way to kill it. Wouldn't that be more stable? The Divine Eagle Clan Chief said in a deep voice. Kill? Should he continue like this? I'm afraid not. This time, I was lucky to destroy his body. Next time, I won't be so lucky. Su-Yun shook his head and said indifferently. Then, Su-Yun, do you think there's any way? The Divine Eagle Tribe leader asked. Su-Yun thought for a moment and suddenly thought of something. His face tensed up and said, yes. What? Divine Eagle Clan leader asked hurriedly. I don't know yet, but it's all up to you. He turned his head and stared at the chief. The patriarch was startled. He did not know what Su-Yun meant. Based on my current condition, it will probably take 4 to 5 days to return to the encampment from here. But if I rely on you, how long can you send me there? The Divine Eagle Tribe Master thought for a moment and said, half a day is enough. All right, then bring me back to the encampment as soon as possible. Leave now. What do you want? Don't ask so many questions. We'll talk about it when we get there. Su-Yun shouted. The Divine Eagle Lord did not dare hesitate and said to them, you guys wait here. Su-Yun and I will be right back. With that said, he carried Su-Yun and flew into the distance. When everyone was at their wits' end and had no clue what to do, Su-Yun only thought of one person, and the only one who could give him an answer. That was the only minister envoy he had, Wanhua Realm Lord. The scenery on both sides had completely disappeared, and it was as if he was teleporting forward. Not long after, his body also started to heat up, if not for the fact that the Divine Eagle race leader used a spell to protect his body would have disintegrated under the movement of the light beam. The Divine Eagle race leader's words were not false. Indeed, in half a day's time, the two of them were close to the secret encampment. There were not many people in the encampment, and only a portion of the defense was left. If they could not defeat the Immortal Lord this time, the encampment would definitely not exist. So, Su-Yun did not plan to leave much power behind. This place had not been exposed for the time being, so there was no danger. However, Hu Qianmei was already standing at the entrance, as if she had already sensed that Su-Yun would arrive. Just as Su-Yun and the Divine Eagle race leader landed on the ground, Hu Qianmei anxiously shouted, Big brother, quickly go to the rear courtyard. The Wanhua Realm Lord is waiting for you. Seems like she knows that I will come looking for her. Su-Yun muttered and quickly entered the encampment. The guards in the backyard were all transferred away, and when Su-Yun and the other two hurriedly entered the courtyard, a white light blossomed in the courtyard. The clouds and mist lingered around, making it seem like a dream, and in the center of the courtyard there were a few colorful lanterns floating, and in the center stood a young lady peacefully. The young lady held the transparent bead in her hand and closed her eyes as if she was praying. The three of them stood at the entrance of the courtyard, not daring to enter. After half an incense stick of time, she slowly opened her eyes, and her pink cherry lips gently moved. Come in and talk. Su-Yun nodded and walked inside. The young girl's charming face was pale, and she started to pant. She took 2 steps back and gently sat on a boulder at the side, as if she was exhausted. Seeing that, Su-Yun frowned. He went over and grabbed her slender wrist and checked it. Why did your aura suddenly become so weak? Su-Yun frowned and asked, how can you be any better? With the backlash from the ominous sword chi, if you do not remove it in time, you will lose your life. I advise you to immediately return to Sky Marshall Continent and find Ling Qingyu. Let her absorb the ominous sword chi from your body. If not long later, your body will be destroyed by the ominous sword chi. Even your soul. The young girl raised her tired eyes, looked at Su-Yun, and said softly, now, even if I was saved by Qingyu and didn't die, what about the Immortal Court? As long as he doesn't die, I won't be able to rest in peace. Now that we have seized the opportunity, if we do not take advantage of this opportunity to settle it, there will only be endless troubles in the future. So, as long as the Immortal Court doesn't die, I won't put my mind on anything else. The young lady looked at Su-Yun, and after a long while, she sighed softly. In the end, I can't persuade you. You should have known that you couldn't persuade me. I know, but I want to give it a try. Is that so? Su-Yun was a little strange, because in his impression, the Wanhua Realm Lord had always been a person who did not like to do useless things. Since you've already made up your mind, then, I'll go and tell your fortunes once. She extended her hand out to the divine eagle lord. Give me the 9 god-wind heavenly beads. The divine eagle tribe leader seemed a little hesitant. He knew of this woman, but he had rarely met her. He could feel the weak aura of this woman, and he still could not believe that such an existence could actually be a minister envoy. He looked at Su Yun, who nodded without hesitation, and could only hand over the 9 god-wind heavenly beads. The realm master took the pearl and nodded at Su Yun. Su Yun understood and called for Hu Qianmei and the divine eagle lord to leave the courtyard, leaving the realm master alone to cast the technique. When the three of them left the courtyard, a barrier appeared in the courtyard. It was obvious that this barrier was specially set up by the realm master. When the enchantment opened, Su Yun and the other two patiently waited. Su Yun seemed to be rather calm, but the usually steady divine eagle lord was restless, as though he was about to make a move. But not long after, Su Yun also felt that something was amiss. He frowned, as though he was deep in thought. At this moment, the courtyard flickered with light, and within the halo of light, there seemed to be stars rippling inside. It was extremely magical. Big brother, what's wrong? Hu Qianmei sensed that something was wrong with Su Yun and immediately asked. That's not right. Su Yun muttered, and suddenly thought of something, and cried out involuntarily, crap. With that said, he anxiously ran into the courtyard. However, the enchantment was blocking him. Without any hesitation, he pulled out the double-moon sword, cut through the enchantment, and rushed in. Hu Qianmei and the divine eagle lord were baffled and anxiously followed, only to see Su Yun rushing towards the center of the courtyard like a madman. But at this time, the halo of light in the courtyard had already gradually disappeared, and the floating lamps had all fallen to the ground, shattering into pieces. The Wanhua realm lord leaned lightly on the large boulder, not moving at all. Her small face was terrifyingly white. Sweat flowed down her face. She looked at Su Yun, who was walking in, her pale lips moving slightly. You regret it. But Su Yun ignored her and directly grabbed her arms and quickly channeled qi into her body. But it was useless. Her body was completely dried up, like a well that had completely dried up, as if it had reached its end. Don't worry, I won't let you die, Su Yun said in a low voice. His eyes were red, and his heart was filled with regret. Only then did he realize that using the life divination technique to spy on the secret of killing the great immortal judge was definitely a method that could change fate. Once he used the life divination technique to spy on such a thing, the person would most likely have to pay a large portion of his lifespan. And as far as the Realm Master was concerned, she could no longer support such a level of life divination technique. However, she did not refuse. Don't waste time. I'll tell you what I saw, the Realm Master said weakly, her voice trembling, as if every word she said was squeezed out with all her strength. Shut up, Su Yun roared. He stared at the Realm Master like a tiger watching its prey, as if he was about to go crazy. I don't want to know this. I only hope that when you get better, you can tell me everything. Do you want me to die in vain? The Realm Master smiled gently. With a single sentence, she completely killed him. Su Yun opened his eyes wide. He realized that he was unable to refute the Realm Master. His fists were clenched tightly, his body trembling even more. Suddenly, he sat on the ground powerlessly. Looking at the person in front of him who was about to die, he had the urge to cry. This was a feeling he had never felt before. Even if Qing Yur's life was in danger, he would not feel this way. I just want to save you, Su Yun said while trembling. But the Realm Master did not say anything else. She raised her trembling small hand and moved it to Su Yun's face, gently caressing it, and then strenuously moved her head to Su Yun's ear, as if she muttered a few words. In the end, her small hand loosened and slid down, and she completely fell into a deep sleep, without the slightest bit of life. Chapter 1384. There was a deathly silence in the courtyard. An eagle, a fox, a man, a tree, and a young girl who looked like she was sleeping peacefully under the tree. Su Yun crouched in front of the young lady, extended his trembling hands, and pushed aside the messy hair on her forehead. The young girl had already gently closed her eyes. Her pale face had also lost the halo that it should have had. He clenched his teeth and embraced the young girl. The pain in his eyes was indescribable. Is she exhausted? The divine eagle race leader at the side opened his eyes wide, looking at the young girl lying under the tree in disbelief. This kind of exhaustion was not the necrosis of the physical body, but the complete withering of the spirit body. The divine eagle race leader's sensitivity was not low. When he rushed in with Su Yun, he noticed the change in the Wanhua Realm Lord, and in that split second, her aura had become extremely weak, as though it could completely dissipate at any time. The Realm Lord was not strong. How could the divine eagle race leader not sense it? Just as Su Yun was hugging her body leaked out a bit of starlight and then quickly disappeared. Su Yun's eyes were about to split open. He extended his hand to grab the starlight, but to no avail. This was the phenomenon when the Realm Lord's soul was about to dissipate, and this also meant that the last trace of her would disappear with the wind. No. Su Yun seemed to have gone crazy, his lips trembling, his face extremely pale. Big brother. Hu Qianmei walked over, with tears in her eyes. She comforted him softly. Don't be too sad. The Realm Lord is only doing this for the peace of the immortal world. Su Yun, you don't have to be sad. Life and death are in the hands of the heavens. Everyone has their own fate. It is just a comparison of which is more important. Although this Wanhua Realm Lord is already dead, she died for the sake of the common people of the myriad realms, and her life was not in vain. After we get rid of the immortal judge, we will definitely set up a tomb for her and spread the news about her, so that the people of the myriad realms will forever remember her name, and the Wanhua realm will also become a special realm, as a form of gratitude and repayment for her actions. At this time, the divine eagle race leader spoke up. Su Yun did not say a word, but clenched his fists tighter and tighter. Perhaps she had long known that she would die. This kind of person who could already see through fate was already very indifferent to life and death. However, she did not know that there were still many people who cared about her life, such as Su Yun. Su Yun hugged the Realm Master's body tightly, unwilling to let go for a long time. Hu Qianmei sat beside him, crying softly, but did not comfort him anymore. The divine eagle tribe leader opened his mouth, wanting to continue trying to persuade him. However, he felt that it would not be effective, so he could only stop talking and stand quietly at the side. After an unknown period of time, Su Yun raised his head and looked at the divine eagle tribe leader. Do you still remember the 3 heroes of the immortal court? Su Yun asked hoarsely. I heard that the 3 of them were killed by you. Yes, Su Yun said in a low voice. Amongst the 3 heroes of the immortal court, the heavenly sovereign of the immortal court has the ability to reconstruct a person's soul. In other words, in this vast world, there is indeed a method to repair the soul and revive a person. I have heard of the heavenly sovereign of the immortal court's method, but there are harsh conditions for him to reconstruct a person's soul and revive them. Only after a certain period of time has passed can he revive them, and if the time passes, it will be useless. I do not know where the master of the heavenly sovereign of the immortal court is, and it will not be easy to find another person who is proficient in this technique. Su Yun, I advise you to give up. The most important thing now is to take care of the immortal court to prevent future troubles. If he does not die, we will have endless troubles in the future. The immortal court wants to kill him, but we also want to save him. Su Yun raised his head and stared at him coldly. I, Su Yun, am not that great, and the Wanhua Realm Lord does not need to be that great. If you can't even save yourself, how can you talk about saving others? The divine eagle tribe leader frowned. He felt that something was wrong with Su Yun. He looked toward Su Yun, only to see that his face was slightly black, and his red eyes had traces of black qi moving around. Ominous sword qi? The divine eagle tribe leader thought. Su Yun picked up the 9 divine wind heavenly beads in the Realm Lord's hands and said, This item can delay the healing speed of the immortal court's body. Then it can definitely delay the speed of the soul's dissipation. The Realm Lord is far from being as strong as the immortal court. This item can at least buy me 30 days or more. Now, I will release the immortal court, and use this item to slow down the dissipation of the Realm Lord's soul. No! Hearing that, the Divine Eagle Tribe leader immediately rushed over, grabbed Su Yun's arm, and shouted anxiously, "If you release the immortal court, then everything will be over. She would have died in vain." "I don't care. Su Yun, calm down. What you're doing is completely useless." "Then do you have a better way?" he said coldly, as if he had completely lost the ability to think. Although the Divine Eagle Tribe leader had not known Su Yun for a long time, he understood that this person would indeed do something impulsive at times, but he still did not let go, grabbed Su Yun's wrist, and said, "Su Yun, don't do this now. Actually, there are many ways to keep the Realm Lord's soul. I have a way, it can buy you another 5 days of time. Just now, the Realm Lord has already told you the way to eliminate the immortal court, right? Immediately follow me to erase the immortal court, and then I will use the 9 divine wind heavenly beads to seal the scattered soul of the Realm Lord for you. What do you think?" Hearing that, Su Yun's crazed eyes became a little warmer. He lowered his head and thought for a while, then let go of the 9 divine wind heavenly beads. Seeing that, the Divine Eagle Tribe leader immediately snatched the 9 divine wind heavenly beads back. Su Yun retreated a few steps. Seeing that, Hu Qianmei immediately left. Seeing that, the Divine Eagle Tribe leader secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Obviously, Su Yun had compromised. In fact, it was useless not to compromise. If they really released the Great Judge Immortal here, it would be a complete destruction of jade and stone. Even if Su Yun could revive the Realm Master, the Realm Master would not be able to escape from the Great Judge Immortal's hands. The Great Judge Immortal would not allow her to live in this world. After Su Yun was impulsive, he calmed down. He knew that he could not act recklessly in this situation. The Divine Eagle Tribe leader kept his promise and immediately activated his technique. 1,000 feathers flew out from the wings on his back and flew towards the Wanhua Realm Lord's body, forming a wing wall around her body, completely isolating her. Su Yun realized that the qi inside could not leak out, and the qi outside could not enter. Within 10 days, her soul won't be able to leave this barrier. The Divine Eagle Tribe leader said weakly, "In 10 days, I will bring the 9 divine wind heavenly beads over." Su Yun said coldly, then turned his head and said to Hu Qianmei, "Mayor, during this period of time, please take care of her corpse." "Big brother, don't worry. Mayor won't let anyone near here." Hu Qianmei nodded seriously. Su Yun kissed her forehead lightly, then turned around and transformed into a ray of light, flying towards the horizon. The current Su Yun's speed was extremely fast, and the qi that leaked out contained a baleful aura that caused people's hearts to palpitate. This was the power of the evil sword. Had Su Yun already started to accept the power of the evil sword? The Divine Eagle Tribe leader felt that something was wrong, but he did not have the time to think about it. He could only flap his wings and chase after him. Su Yun's speed was very fast and was actually on par with the Divine Eagle Tribe leader, who was moving at full speed. He knew that the power of the evil sword had already entered his qi meridian and was close to the immortal eyes. If he entered the immortal eyes, it would not be so easy to get rid of this qi. From the looks of it, Su Yun did not seem to reject the power of the evil sword anymore. When he used the evil sword's sword qi to shatter the body of the great immortal judge, he had used up most of his energy, but now that he was able to move forward at such a speed, he naturally relied on the evil sword's qi. As he flew, Su Yun's face started to distort. Perspiration flowed down his face, as though he was suffering from extreme pain. From the looks of it, the aura of the evil sword was already close to the immortal eyes. The Divine Eagle Tribe leader looked at Su Yun, who was flying beside him, and sighed in his heart. Su Yun's direction was not towards the location of the army, but he had already used the order badge to inform the Holy Devil Fire and the others to head towards the location he had designated. The Divine Eagle Tribe leader vaguely sensed something. A day later, everyone once again gathered at a spirit mine. This was a spirit mountain within the jurisdiction of the Immortal Court. The ores on the spirit mountain had already been mined out, and the immortal court had set up a barrier here, built a courtyard, and used it as a temporary stronghold. When Su Yin landed, everyone followed behind him, not understanding why Su Yin brought them here. But at that moment, Su Yin suddenly raised his hand and fiercely waved it towards the spirit mountain. A pitch-black, terrifying sword chi exploded out from the double moon sword. Like a death god's scythe, it completely blasted apart the spirit mountain. It turned out that there were more than 1,000 enchantments inside the spirit mountain. Su Yun's sword strike had only broken the outer layer of the spirit mountain, but the inner layer of the spirit mountain was not damaged in the slightest. Seeing these transparent enchantments, everyone was shocked. They surrounded them and looked through the enchantments. The entire enchantment was a huge sphere. The lower half of it was buried in the clouds, and its aura was concealed. Therefore, no one noticed it. Inside the sphere enchantment was a delicate and transparent little person. The little person sat cross-legged in the center of the enchantment. It seemed to contain a universe inside it, and a large number of stars flowed around the little person. It was extremely mysterious. This must be the main body of the immortal court. Seeing the little person, the divine Eagle Tribe leader seemed to understand everything and exclaimed, "No wonder he can't be killed no matter how hard he tries. As long as his main body doesn't die, then the body outside can't be destroyed. This is the source of his power, the source of invincibility." As soon as he said that, the surrounding people went into an uproar. Every time the immortal court disappears, it always comes here to check on the spirit body. Holy Devil Hoi Yin shouted, "Then we should hurry up and destroy this thing." Destroy? I'm afraid it won't be easy. The divine Eagle Tribe leader moved closer to the side of the enchantment, used his finger to tap on the enchantment, and said solemnly, "There are 1,700 enchantments here, one stronger than the other, and they were all created by the immortal court's source energy. I don't know how much time he spent. If we want to break through these enchantments, I'm afraid it will take us 3 to 5 years." 3 to 5 years? Hearing these words, everyone seemed to have fallen into despair. Chapter 1385. Forget about 3 to 5 years. Su Yun couldn't even wait for 3 to 5 days. Su Yun's eyes were fixated on the enchantment, as though he wanted to see through it. At this time, his body moved, and with the dual moon sword, he slashed towards the enchantment. Clang! The terrifying double moon sword fiercely smashed on the outermost boundary, making a crisp sound. The power of the sword tore the boundary apart and bombarded it like a wave, causing it to become unstable. Su Yin was also sent flying by the recoil of the force. Everyone looked anxiously, only to see that there was a 2-meter-long crack on the ground. Other than that, there was nothing else out of the ordinary. Su Yun's current strength was supported by the evil sword's power, and his current strength had even surpassed that of the divine Eagle Lord. However, such a destructive power was only able to cause such an effect. So how powerful must these enchantments be? It was believed that most of the attacks from the people present would be immune to this enchantment. Wanting to break through these enchantments and destroy the little people inside was simply a fantasy. What should we do? What should we do now? If we can't break through this enchantment in a short period of time, once the great immortal court comes out of the 9-god wind heavenly beads, we will all die here. Xingbai was anxious. He was running around in circles. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Just then, a series of muffled sounds came from the Lord's hand. He looked at his hand and realized that the sound was coming from the 9-god wind heavenly beads. It was trembling violently, and the great immortal court inside was almost completely condensed. Only his hands and feet were not complete, but the fragments were all around his body and were slowly moving. At this speed, in less than 6 hours, the great immortal court would be able to completely recover, and at that time, the 9-god wind heavenly beads would not be able to trap him. What should we do? What else can we do? At most, we'll fight this bastard to the death. The holy demon fire's temper could not stand this kind of oppressive matter, and immediately shouted out. Everyone lowered their heads. Some of them even trembled, their expressions extremely ugly. If the great immortal court really came out, how could they fight back? Su Yun was already in such a state, and the Lord had also expended a lot of energy. With just the holy demon fire, it was impossible for him to deal with the great immortal court. Although Su Yun had a lot of immortals on his side, against such a true expert, having more people did not have any advantage at all. The difference in strength made it so that many people could not even break through the defense of the great immortal judge. You don't have to be too pessimistic. We still have time. The grand immortal lord should have another 6 to 8 hours before he comes out. We can use this time to our advantage. I'll bring the 9 heavenly wind pearls to the peak of the immortal world and throw them into the primordial galaxy. Even I need a long time to break free from the primordial galaxy's suction force. I believe it should be able to restrain the grand immortal lord for half a month. Only half a month. Holy Fiend Fire was stunned. This is the only thing I can do. The Divine Eagle Clan leader was a little annoyed. In this half a month, he had already done his best to do so. Holy Demon Fire did not speak again. Given the current situation, that is indeed the way it should be. As long as we buy more time, we can think of more ways. Just then, a figure quickly flew over from afar. Everyone looked towards the direction of the voice and discovered that the person who was flying over was Sword Ancestor. Seeing the arrival of the Sword Ancestor, everyone was overjoyed. Sword Ancestor, do you have any ideas? Get rid of the Grand Immortal Lord? Everyone looked as if they had seen their savior as they surrounded him and asked nervously. But the Sword Ancestor shook his head. The Immortal Court has dominated the immortal world for so many years and has countless cultivation materials. During the period of time when he has dominated the immortal world, his cultivation speed is unimaginable to ordinary people, and no one knows how strong he is right now. There should be no way to eliminate him in such a short period of time, but half a month is enough for us to break this barrier and get rid of his main body. Then, Lord Divine Eagle Clan, please quickly bring the 9 heavenly wind pearls to the primordial galaxy. Right now, only the power of the primordial galaxy can temporarily delay the grand immortal lord. Qin Xianlong said from the side. All right, there's no time to lose. I'll take action immediately, the Divine Eagle Clan leader said and was about to stand up. Wait. Just then, Su Yun suddenly turned his head and bellowed. There are only 6 hours. The primal chaos galaxy is extremely far from here. With my speed, it will take me 3 months to arrive. Where can you get there? I have a secret technique that allows me to shrink 10,000 li into a single finger. Although the consumption is great, 6 hours should be enough. But if you really throw the 9 God Wind Empyrean beads into the primal chaos Milky Way, then how am I supposed to obtain the 9 God Wind Empyrean beads? And how am I supposed to store the Realm Lord's soul? Su Yun's expression became cold, and the gaze he looked at the Divine Eagle Lord with became unkind. The Divine Eagle Tribe leader was stunned for a moment before he reacted. Su Yun, the Divine Eagle Lord, has already made a sacrifice and is even willing to give up this clan-protecting treasure. What else can't you let go of? The Sword Ancestor asked. Master Ancestor, I, Su Yun, am not standing in the world because of righteousness. As long as I have a clear conscience and am worthy of the people around me, the Realm Lord died for me. How can I not think of a way to save her? Without the 9 divine wind heavenly pearl, it would be impossible for the Realm Master to be reborn. Therefore, this method absolutely cannot be used. But if we don't do this, when the immortal court is born, none of us will be able to escape. I'm afraid the outcome will be much worse than this. The Sword Ancestor shook his head. This was the truth. So what if he really revived the Wanhua Realm Lord? If he did not kill the immortal court, these people would still be killed by him one by one. In this way, it would only implicate more people. Everyone looked at Su Yun, waiting for his reply. Su Yun took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He slowly turned around and flew to the front of the enchantment. It's useless. The holy demon fire flame could not help but mutter. But Su Yun did not hear it. Everyone's gaze fell on him. No one understood what he was going to do. The eyes of the Divine Eagle Lord and the Sword Ancestor congealed, as if they had sensed something. Could it be that this guy wanted to crash? Just then, a grayish-black light suddenly shot out from Su Yun's finger, and the moment the light appeared, his chest rose and fell violently. He started to cough violently, and his face, which was covered in ash, immediately became deathly pale. His eyes were dull, and the aura around his body was like a leaking balloon, quickly evaporating. Not long after, he was like a dying old man. "That's the evil sword, Qi?" The divine Eagle Lord cried out in alarm. Only then did he realize that in Su Yun's palm, there was a small sword. That sword was the sword that sealed the evil sword Qi. "Su Yun, stop right now. Your body can't possibly withstand the next wave of sword Qi." Divine Eagle Tribe leader shouted anxiously. The sword ancestor did not waste any words. In a flash, he landed beside Su Yun, grabbed his wrist, and said solemnly, "Su Yun, you will die. This is the only way to get the best of both worlds. If you die, will you be able to face those who care about you?" The sword ancestor had known Su Yun for so many years and understood his personality, so he immediately shouted. This was impressively grabbing onto Su Yun's weakness. Su Yun was stunned, but just then, something strange happened. The 9 God-wind heavenly beads in the hands of the divine Eagle Lord suddenly released a burst of rainbow-colored light. Following that, with a so sound, the bead directly flew into the air and then started to spin crazily. The divine Eagle Lord turned pale with fright. He looked inside the bead, only to see that the broken body of the great immortal Lord inside the bead flickered a few times. The 4 limbs that had yet to be completely pieced together suddenly grew 3 limbs, and the remaining hand was about to heal. The fragment was right beside his wrist. "This is bad. We've been tricked," the divine Eagle Lord shouted in shock. "Tricked? What's going on?" Sword Ancestor and Holy Devil Hua Yin came over and surrounded the 9 God-wind heavenly beads, all of them looking vigilant. The recovery speed of the great immortal Lord is much faster than we expected. He has been using illusions to tamper with his recovery speed to numb us. This is impossible. His body is destroyed. His body has been repaired, and his immortal meridians have been condensed. Although he has no limbs, with his cultivation, he only needs to chant a few chants to be able to use illusions. The divine Eagle Lord clenched his teeth and said, Holy Devil Hua Yin panicked. Looking at the spinning 9 God-wind heavenly beads, he suddenly rushed forward and grabbed at the beads. Pudong, a shockingly powerful energy, had appeared around the 9 God-wind pearls. When the holy demon fire's hand came into contact with this energy, his hand was immediately repelled. Large amounts of rubble flew out from his palm, and he was also knocked back by the impact. Not good. The great immortal Lord's Qi has already leaked out. We can't stop him from rushing out of the suppression of the 9 God-wind heavenly beads. The divine Eagle Lord cried out involuntarily. Hearing that, Qin Xianlong and the rest were all shocked. Sword Ancestor instantly landed in front of the 9 God-wind heavenly beads. He immediately formed a sword art and shouted, Now, we can only fight to the death. We have no way out. Under his fate-telling technique, escaping is no longer useful. If everyone still wants to survive, then fight with me. Sword Ancestor's roar caused everyone to feel a sense of bloodthirst. At this point, this was the only way. Go! Qin Xianlong roared and rushed forward. Xing Bai, Faceless, Wei Ming, and the rest also rushed forward. The Nether Empress did not come, and the army was still waiting in the temporary encampment of the Immortal Court. At this time, they could not support them. With just these people, they could not stop the great immortal Lord. Clang! Just then, a clear sound rang out, and immediately after, a sword light flashed past everyone's line of sight. Everyone turned to look at the sword light, only to see the sword light rippling. Su Yun held onto the twin moon sword with one hand and raised it up high. On the twin moon sword was the small sword, and the entire sword body was covered by the fierce sword. It was a grayish black. Su Yun. Chapter 1386. Wong 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 Wong. The great immortal judge inside the 9 divine wind heavenly jewels seemed to have sensed the terrifying aura coming from the barrier. At this moment, as if he had gone crazy, he continuously attacked the 9 divine wind heavenly jewels, trying to rush out. Since things have come to this, it is impossible for Su Yun to retract the evil sword intent. All of you, quickly suppress the 9 divine wind heavenly jewels. Don't let the great immortal judge escape from inside. Faster! Sword Ancestor roared in anger. At this time, there was no turning back. The only thing everyone could do was to borrow Su Yun's last bit of strength to completely destroy the great immortal judge. Godly Eagle Lord, Holy Devil Fire, Qin Qianlong, Xiang Yang, Xing Bai, Faceless. Everyone felt as if they had been pricked by needles as they crazily rushed towards the 9 divine wind heavenly jewels. Everyone used their qi to wrap around the 9 divine wind heavenly jewels and continuously condensed qi walls around the bead to stop the great immortal judge's attack. Although the qi wall was extremely weak to the great immortal judge and would shatter upon contact, with so many experts around, the speed at which the great immortal judge's qi was breaking through was not as fast as the speed at which it was condensed. Su Yun held onto the double moon sword, his entire body trembling violently. He felt that his consciousness was becoming weaker and weaker, and his strength to hold onto the double moon sword was becoming weaker and weaker. Endless pain spread from the sword in his hand to every part of his body, but he clenched his teeth and did not give up. Finally, he roared and fiercely slashed the sword qi on the double moon sword towards the barrier. A grayish-black sword light seemed to pierce through the sky, flowing far into the distance, and the top could not be seen. The enchantments were also shattered like glass. Clang, 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 clang. Layer by layer, they shattered. The evil sword qi was like a hot knife through butter, and countless enchantments were destroyed in the blink of an eye. Seeing that, everyone was both worried and happy. They were worried that Su Yun would use the evil sword qi again, and was afraid that it would be a disaster. But they were happy that with this attack, the great immortal judge would definitely die. But a scene that was enough to make one's eyeballs pop out appeared. That terrifying sword energy split open the barrier, but did not hit the little person inside. Instead, as if it was intentional, it brushed past the little person's shoulder and fell down. The little person did not suffer much damage. Su Yun, Sword Ancestor, was startled. The main body was usually extremely weak, otherwise, the great immortal court would not have set up so many terrifying and powerful enchantments to protect it. At this time, forget about Su Yun's strength. Even the spirit cultivators of the Sky Martial Continent could destroy this little person. So how could Su Yun not do it? Unless he deliberately chose not to. Bang! At this time, a violent explosion sounded out from the 9 divine wind heavenly pearl, and a figure jumped out from inside. The shockwave sent the surrounding experts flying, and immediately after, a myriad of colorful lights appeared. It was none other than the immortal Grand Judge. He had finally broken free from the 9 god wind pearl's restraints. Watch out! The leader of the divine eagle race shouted. With the reappearance of Grand Immortal Lord, everyone felt the pressure multiply. However, he did not pay attention to the crowd. Instead, he hurriedly looked toward the little person. However, the scene before him made him not dare to move. Su Yun, who was holding onto the dual moon sword, had already grabbed the little person and held it in his hands. The surging sword intent moved between his palms and wrapped around the little person. Don't move. His face was as pale as paper, and his voice was extremely weak as he said, "If you dare make any strange movements, I will shatter your main body." Grand Immortal Lord stared at Su Yun, but did not say a word. But right at this moment, a silent qi struck towards Su Yun. This qi was extremely concealed. Even Sword Ancestor and the rest did not notice it. This extremely concealed move directly hit Su Yun's body, but seemed to have no effect. On the contrary, Su Yun had already sensed Grand Immortal Lord's methods. Without hesitation, he used the sword qi to cut off one of the little person's arms. Kacha! The arm of the little person was like a broken branch. It was thrown to the side by Su Yun, and the broken chi leaked out, releasing a bright light. Grand Immortal Lord let out a mournful roar. His entire body also fell from the sky. With great difficulty, he stabilized his body. His face was already sinister, one hand holding on his right arm. He stared fiercely at Su Yun. I knew that you would plot against me. Your methods are too strong. So just now, I used the last bit of my strength to activate the Imperial Battle Robe to block. I believe that your sneak attack won't be too strong, and the truth is indeed so, but you won't have the chance anymore. Su Yun suddenly tore off the Imperial Battle Robe, raised the dual moon sword, and slid it across his chest. Slash! His chest was directly cut open, and the internal organs and chi meridian inside could be seen clearly. It was extremely terrifying. However, it was as if he did not know the pain as he forcefully stuffed the little person in his hand to the side of his heart. At the same time, a large amount of grayish-black chi poured into the chi meridian. That was the aura of a vicious sword. Grand Immortal Lord's face changed. It was extremely ugly, and the people around him were also astonished. Su Yun actually poured the vicious sword chi into his own chi meridian. Was he courting death? Although his chi meridian was strong, it was definitely unable to support the vicious sword chi. Lord of Divine Eagle looked over, only to see that cracks had already appeared on Su Yun's chi meridian. If this continued, even if his cultivation wasn't crippled, at the very least, it would definitely regress. This was too crazy. No one could understand Su Yun's actions. What was this guy trying to do? Seeing Su Yun's actions, Grand Immortal Lord no longer dared to act recklessly. This guy was standing there with the attitude of burning jade and common stones together. If Grand Immortal Lord were to act rashly again, once Su Yun died, the vicious sword chi in his body would lose control and would directly tear apart Grand Immortal Lord's body. He had already linked the lives of two people together. What exactly do you want to do? Grand Immortal Lord gritted his teeth and said, I want you to do something. Su Yun's aura became weaker and weaker. Sword Ancestor frowned. He had already sensed Su Yun's intentions. He thought for a moment, then sighed and flew straight toward Su Yun. Martial Ancestor, don't worry. Since it's your decision, I will respect your choice. Sword Ancestor said. He landed beside Su Yun and placed one hand on his shoulder. In that moment, everyone could see a light blue chi flowing in from his shoulder through Su Yun's open chest, lingering and covering his entire body, stabilizing his uncontrollable strength and supporting his tottering body. Thank you, Master Ancestor. Su Yun exhaled. Everyone, let's go back to the encampment first. Sword Ancestor said indifferently. Grand Immortal Lord did not know what Su Yun wanted to do. But now that Su Yun had grasped his weakness, he could not disobey, and could only follow these people back to the secret encampment. When he arrived at the secret encampment, Grand Immortal Lord realized that something was wrong. His sharp senses allowed him to know many things in advance. It seems like she sacrificed herself for your operation this time. Grand Immortal Lord laughed. Although one of his arms had been crippled, he did not seem to care much. The heavenly sovereign of the immortal court of the three heroes of the immortal court knows how to reform the soul. I believe that as the strongest existence in the immortal court, you should know this technique as well. Su Yun was supported by Sword Ancestor into the courtyard. He turned his head and spoke to the immortal court elder who was walking in from behind. Of course I do. Then I want you to save her. Su Yun pointed to the corpse wrapped in wings under the tree. Hu Qianmei ran over, and seeing him in such a state, tears continued to fall. Su Yun comforted Hu Qianmei softly, then shouted, If you can save her, I won't kill you. Su Yun. This made the Divine Eagle Lord, the Fire Holy Devil, and the others unable to sit still. This was the best time to kill Grand Immortal Lord. If they let him go just like that, wouldn't all their efforts be in vain? Not only that, they also had to face a great enemy. The situation would immediately become critical. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Su Yun raised his hand, stopping everyone from talking, and said solemnly, You know what you're doing? However, Grand Immortal Lord was not fooled. He shook his head and said, I don't believe that you will let me go so easily, so I won't believe you. You have no choice. You have to at least give me a reason to believe you. Grand Immortal Lord was not an idiot. If Suyin handed over his main body to him, with his methods, it would not be too difficult to crush the experts here, even if he lost an arm. After all, Suyin no longer had any fighting strength, and the Divine Eagle Lord was also at the end of his rope, so it would not be too difficult to deal with him. However, Suyin did not seem to have much patience to convince Grand Immortal Lord. He raised his hand and pointed at the little person that was placed in his body, his fingertips releasing a sharp chi. If I say that I will let you go, then I will let you go. Whether you believe me or not, it's up to you. I won't try my best to convince you, because I'm not good at it. Right now, you only have two choices. One is to obediently do as I say, and the other is to perish together. It's up to you. Grand Immortal Lord had paid attention to Suyin for a long time and knew that he was not a good person. However, if he was so scared, Grand Immortal Lord would not have been able to sit at the top of the Immortal Court for so many years. Perish together? All right. Grand Immortal Lord laughed. If you have the guts, then destroy my origin soul. I want to see if you have the courage to do so. You don't believe me? Suyin frowned. I don't believe you, Grand Immortal Lord said almost immediately. But in the next second, he was dumbstruck. Suyin suddenly raised his hand and grabbed the little person's body, and then a berserk chi directly passed through his palm towards the little person. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, the little person directly shattered, turning into countless fragments that rippled in Suyun's palm. Seeing that, Grand Immortal Lord was stunned and couldn't help but stop the magic power in his hand. In truth, he had never planned to compromise from the start, but Suyun had sensed his abnormality. Grand Immortal Lord did not know that his main body had already transmitted all of his actions to Suyun in the form of perception. Suyun had originally treated Grand Immortal Lord as his last hope, but Grand Immortal Lord did not have any thoughts of listening to him. Grand Immortal Lord let out a mournful roar. As if he had gone mad, he pounced towards Suyun. However, once the little person died, his body started to twitch, and before he could pounce towards Suyun, he fell heavily to the ground. Chapter 1387. This scene shocked the eyes of all the people in the surroundings. Suyun actually destroyed the body of the great immortal judge. Could it be that he didn't want the great immortal judge to revive the Wanhua Realm Lord? Was he going to give up just like that? This was simply unimaginable. Everyone understood Suyun's temperament, saying that he was righteous. That was definitely not it. His character was not bad, but he was definitely not someone who could sacrifice himself for the sake of the common people. Then why did he do this? The great immortal judge landed on the ground, his body twitching, his face twisted, and he let out a heart-wrenching roar. Bastard! Bastard! Blood flowed out of his mouth, and his body began to shatter, flying out with the wind. In less than 10 breaths of time, his body had completely disappeared. The overlord who controlled the entire immortal world had fallen just like that. And with the disappearance of the great immortal judge, the glorious and mighty immortal court also became the dust of history, no longer existing. After crushing the original body, Suyun's chest rose and fell violently. The little bit of chi he had just used was too much for him to bear. Suyun. The crowd was still unable to immerse themselves in the joy of the death of the great immortal judge, and all of them rushed towards him. The corrosion of the evil sword chi in his body is getting stronger and stronger. We need to find the evil sword spirit immediately and ask her to heal Suyun quickly. Sword Ancestor shouted in a low voice. Evil sword spirit, where is it now? Everyone was puzzled, but Sword Ancestor understood. He asked Suyun, Suyun, where did you hide the sword sheath? Tell us quickly. Suyun understood what Sword Ancestor meant. He could not die right now. If not, who would revive the Wanhua Realm Lord? Lord, help me delay the dissipation of the Realm Lord's soul for now. Suyun turned his head, looked at Lord, and said slowly, Don't worry, I will. Eagle Lord nodded. Thank you. Suyun gasped for breath, as though he was relieved, and then said to Sword Ancestor, "The sword sheath is now in the Sky Martial Continent." "Then let's go to the Sky Martial Continent immediately." Sword Ancestor nodded, then said to the people around him, "Everyone, you guys stay behind to take care of the rest. I will bring Su Yun along. Don't worry." "Master Sword Ancestor, you must be careful," Qin Qianlong and the others hurriedly said. "Don't worry," the Sword Ancestor said, then carried Su Yun and flew out. The Immortal Court's death had completely shattered the balance of power in the immortal world. Although the Immortal Court was cruel and merciless, its existence had played a certain role. At least with its presence, no one in the immortal world would dare to run amok. The laws of the Immortal Court still existed on the surface. With the death of the Grand Immortal Judge and the collapse of the Immortal Court, the immortal world's almighty figures who were itching for trouble wouldn't stay quiet. The Sword Ancestor's meaning was very simple. Since the Great Court Immortal had died in Su Yun's hands, then he had to let Su Yun replace the Great Court Immortal and become the ruler of this realm. Otherwise, the situation would become even more difficult to deal with. Not long after, the news of Great Immortal Judge dying in Su Yun's hands spread throughout the entire Myriad Heavens realm. This shocking news spread like wildfire, and Su Yun's name once again resounded throughout the entire immortal world. After the death of the Great Court Immortal, the Lord of the Divine Eagle Race led the remaining people of the Divine Eagle Race back to the Divine Eagle Mountain, planning to rebuild the Eagle Mountain. Yang Zi asked Xiang Yang about Su Yun's situation, but Xiang Yang did not know, so Yang Zi could only return to the Eagle Mountain in disappointment. As for the attitude of the Demon Realm Demon Emperor and the people of the true Demon Realm, no one was sure, but Wei Ming's attitude was to let them return to the true Demon Realm. After all, the Demon Dao did not want to get involved in the disputes of the immortal world, but the Demon Lord and the Great Court Immortal had reached an agreement. Although the power of the Spirit Demon Dao was released, Wei Ming was not an idiot. He sent a group of people into the Spirit Demon Dao to control the matters of the Spirit Demon Dao. The Spirit Demon Emperor led the group back to the Spirit Demon Dao and was immediately pushed to the position of true Spirit Demon Lord. The Spirit Demon Realm and the true Spirit Demon Realm were considered to have merged together. Although the Spirit Demon Emperor and Mu Yi were extremely dissatisfied with Wei Ming's methods, strength reigned supreme, and they had no choice but to comply. The Holy Devil Fire Flame also left the immortal world and returned to the true Devil Realm. He was waiting for one person, and that was the Imperial Ming Sword that was still in a dormant state. Back then, he had left because of the Imperial Ming Sword's help, adding on to his special physique. He needed to repay this favor. The Nether Empress continued to stay in her underworld. Now that something had happened to the Imperial Ming Sword and the underworld marshal had died, the position of Lord of the Underworld naturally fell to her. But even so, she had to be loyal to Su Yun. After all, her life was in Su Yun's hands. There weren't many Devil Cultivator-s left in the secret encampment. They were transferred away by Octagon Aniseed and gathered in the true Devil Realm to rebuild the true Devil Realm. No matter how good the Immortal Realm was, it was still a place of immortals, and most of the Devil Cultivator-s were not willing to stay there. Originally, they thought that with the death of the Great Court Immortal, everyone would be able to live a peaceful life. At least that was what everyone hoped for, but things did not go as planned. A group of uninvited guests, just a few months after Su Yun was brought to the Sky Martial Continent by the Sword Ancestor, arrived at the secret encampment. After the death of the Great Court Immortal, this place was opened. Although there were occasionally immortals who came to visit Su Yun, no one expected that there would be such a group of people coming. The leader was the sect leader of the Thousand Outer Heaven, Qian Tian. Qin Qianlong and the others would definitely not let Qian Tian and the others in. Although Qian Tian had only brought a few dozen people with him, these people were still unhappy with him. "Where's your Lord, Su? Why didn't you come out to meet your guests? Moreover, is this how you treat your guests? Isn't that a little too rude?" Qian Tian stood outside the entrance of the encampment and shouted inside, but his voice was somewhat frivolous. Qin Qianlong frowned. He led Xing Bai and Kai Tian out of the encampment. Looking at Qian Tian, The three of them all had ugly expressions. Sect leader Qian, I wonder what business you have come here for. Qin Qianlong said indifferently. Sai, what sect leader? The Thousand Outer Heaven is no longer here. Right now, I am just a person who works for others. How can there be a sect leader? Qian Tian laughed. Follow others? Qin Qianlong and the other two had different thoughts in their minds. Thousand Beyond Heaven should be attached to some powerful force, and this was something that everyone knew. However, they did not know who this force was, who its leader was, or who Thousand Beyond Heaven was loyal to. Sir, what business do you have here? Qin Qianlong did not want to think about it for the time being, and asked directly. Back then, Qin Tian saw everyone as his enemy, and had already made his position clear. Even if their attitude towards the immortal court was not good, it did not mean that they could become friends. I've come here not for any important matter. I just have some words that I want to tell Lord Su, and ask him to consider. Qin Tian said with the corner of his mouth raised. Qin Qianlong frowned. He felt that something was wrong. He thought for a moment, and said, Bring a message? Are these words yours, or the master behind you? Qin Tian's strength is low, and his realm is not high. Naturally, he does not dare to guide Lord Su. These words are for my master. Then just say it. I will tell Lord Su, Qin Qianlong said in a deep voice. Oh, all right. It doesn't matter if I tell you. After all, these words are not only for your Lord Su. Qin Tian smiled faintly. The ridicule on his face was obvious, causing Qin Qianlong and the others to feel dissatisfied. You have killed the great immortal court and destroyed the immortal court. To you, this is a great achievement, but don't be complacent. After all, in the eyes of Lord Su, the immortal court is only an ant nest that has existed for a long time. It is very easy for him to destroy it. You make it sound so easy. Then why didn't you destroy the great immortal court in the first place? Xing Bai was a straightforward person. He was naturally displeased by Qin Tian's words. However, Qin Tian did not take it seriously. He continued, The immortal court was still useful to us, but it was destroyed by you. This is against the will of Lord Su, but it doesn't matter. Lord Su is a generous man. He will not be calculative about your mistakes. Of course, I also hope that you will surrender to Lord Su as soon as possible and serve Lord Su as your master. In this way, Lord Su's favor and trust in you will not be in vain. So you are here to persuade us to surrender? Qin Qianlong harumphed in his mind. Qin Tian went around in a big circle, but in the end, this was what he meant. The others started to look down on him. We haven't even seen what Lord Su looks like. How could we surrender? That's right, Qin Tian. Get out of here. We have no interest in wasting time with you. Xing Bai and Kai Tian shouted. The three of them were especially disgusted with this person. Qin Tian's eyes flashed with a cold light. He smiled and said, I am here under the order of Lord Su to warn you and persuade you. I will not come a second time, nor will I say that I will come a second time. The decision is in your hands. If I were you, I would do some investigation and consider whether to surrender or not. After all, this is a very important decision. It may affect your whole life. Don't be complacent just because you have done something insignificant. Luck will not always be with you. Use your brain to think. If you're interested, you can find me in Guanglong Plain. Then, Qin Tian turned around and left with a mocking smile. Guanglong Plain? When the three of them heard these three words, their hearts skipped a beat. Could it be that Qin Tian is related to the people of the Divine Dragon race? The number one clan in the immortal world? The three of them looked at each other, their expressions extremely ugly. But even so, Qin Tian's words had deeply provoked them. It was no wonder that Qin Tian dared to be so arrogant. If the one standing behind him was the Divine Dragon race, then he did indeed have the qualifications to be arrogant. However, if it was just the Divine Dragon race, Su Yun's side would definitely not be afraid. What he was worried about was that behind Qin Tian, not only was there the Divine Dragon race, there were other, even more terrifying existences. Lord Qin, what should we do now? Kai Tian asked. Let's go back and discuss with Miss Su Luluo first, then send someone to the Sky Martial Continent to inform the Lord. All right, The three of them turned and hurriedly walked into the encampment. Chapter 1388. After the Battle of the Immortal Court, Su Yun had successfully wiped out the Immortal Court, but he had also fallen into an unprecedented crisis. The Sword Ancestor immediately brought him to the Sky Martial Continent and found the fairy peak where Long Xianli was. He also successfully contacted Ling Qingyu, who was inside the sword sheath, and asked her to heal his injuries. But while he was healing his injuries, Su Yun requested the Sword Ancestor to immediately return to the immortal world and inform Xiangyang, Qin Xianlong, and the others, telling them to immediately spread the news and offer a lot of money to find a way to reunite his soul and revive the Realm Lord. Su Yun's power was immediately mobilized, and the news spread throughout the entire immortal world. Not to mention the usefulness of the Realm Lord to Su Yun, just based on the usefulness of the Realm Lord in this battle. If there was no Realm Lord, Su Yun and the others would definitely not be able to kill the Immortal Court. Xiangyang also understood what Su Yun meant. The rewards that were given out were all valuable treasures. Putting aside the 10 billion immortal coins, there were more than 30 treasures that came for the immortals, devils, and nether realms. If these things were to be given to an ordinary immortal, they would be able to grow up quickly in a short period of time. This was a huge cultivation resource. The immortal world was restless. All the large and small immortal sects started to operate, searching for techniques to reunite their souls. Not long after, Xiangyang received news from various immortals. Every day, there would be immortals coming to the encampment to visit Xiangyang and the others, causing the encampment to become lively. The demise of the Immortal Court caused many people to become unrestrained. After all, in the past, with the restrictions of the Immortal Court, people did not even dare to speak carelessly. But now, they were free to move without any worries. The collapse of the Immortal Court gave the immortals freedom, but cannot be said that there were no benefits. But in the end, the benefits outweighed the disadvantages. At the very least, Su Yun's side was no longer a threat, and the true Devil Realm would also be able to develop. Ling Qingyu carefully absorbed the evil sword in Su Yun's body, but did not let Su Yun leave. Instead, she arranged for him to stay in the fairy peak to recuperate. On this day, Su Yun sat alone at the top of the cliff of the fairy peak, looking at the gradually setting red sun, his heart filled with thousands of emotions. I never thought that after I left the Sky Martial Continent, this place would change so drastically. I don't even recognize it anymore. Su Yun stared at the place that should have been the Immortal Sword sect in the distance, his eyes revealing a sense of vicissitudes. He still remembered this place. Nothing in the world can last longer than time. Nothing is eternal. No matter who it is, sooner or later, they will have to accept and face withering. Long Xianli slowly walked out of the house, looked at Su Yun, and spoke softly. Yeah, Su Yun exhaled, but there was a trace of relaxation on his face and a trace of a smile. We shouldn't ask for too much. Cherish what we have now. That's what we should do. But you haven't stopped, Long Xianli said without any trace of politeness. She could tell that Su Yun was anxious to return to the immortal world. Su Yun was silent. Above the immortal peak, a cool breeze blew, lifting the long hair of the two. After I settle the matter of the Realm Lord, I will live here in seclusion. Finally, he spoke, his voice a little hoarse. Long Xianli was slightly startled. Her chest rose and fell a few times, and she said softly, "Where can you live in seclusion? Why did you come here to disturb my peace? What, do you hate me?" Su Yun turned his head and looked at Long Xianli while grinning. Looking at that smiling face, Long Xianli thought back to what Su Yun had done to her in the past. Her face flushed red. She snorted and said somewhat angrily, "All these years, I have been cultivating here, and I've already made some achievements in my temperament, but I didn't want you to disturb my state of mind. Damn it. In that case, your state of mind is still not mature. You?" Long Xianli was angry, but did not know what to say. Su Yun was not in a good state, and could not hit him, so she could only give up. For some reason, she felt that this man was like her nemesis, in front of him. No matter how good her self-restraint was, it would be completely disrupted. All right, don't be angry, it's all my fault. Su Yun said with a smile. He stood up and walked towards Long Xianli. Seeing that, Long Xianli's breath became chaotic and her breathing became hurried. What are you going to do? She was a little afraid. It had to be said that although the current Su Yun was heavily injured and extremely weak, his strength had already reached an unprecedented, terrifying height. The current Su Yun, to them, was equivalent to a god, and was so far away that if a god wanted to do something, she would definitely not be able to resist. But Su Yun was not as dirty as Long Xianli thought. He only smiled faintly and said, "Actually, this place is not bad. Xianli, your current life, is what I yearn for, far away from disputes, no killing." Hearing that, Long Xianli was startled. After a long while, she said softly, "Seems like you're tired too." "I've been tired for a long time." He sighed heavily, but felt that his body and mind were unprecedentedly tired at this moment. He was not a person who liked fighting or power, but reality forced him to constantly obtain power and obtain supreme strength. His heart was not like this, but things went against his will, and he had no choice but to walk down this path. "I think you're not just tired now. At least, you definitely can't rest now." Just then, a voice floated into Su Yun's ears. Su Yun looked towards the direction of the voice, only to see Sword Ancestor returning. Stepping on his flying sword, he headed towards them. "Master Ancestor," Su Yun called out. Sword Ancestor landed on the ground and nodded toward the two of them. She then said indifferently, "Although the immortal judge is dead, the immortal world is still not at peace. For some reason, the immortal world is currently spreading the news that you have an evil sword in your hands. And if you can take the evil sword in your hands, you can dominate the 10,000 realms and become the ruler of the world. Su Yun, you're in deep trouble now." "What?" Hearing that, Su Yun was shocked. "When I killed the immortal judge, there were no other immortals around." "Who spread this news?" he asked in surprise. Xiang Yang and the others investigated. "It might have been done by the sword god." Sword god smiled. Su Yun frowned. That was possible. Now that the immortal judge had fallen, as a loyal person of the immortal court, the sword god was naturally thinking about how to revive the immortal court. Everyone in the immortal world knew of his loyalty to the immortal court, and the reason why he released such an explosive piece of news was probably because he had the intention of coveting the evil sword in Su Yun's hands. "What's the situation in the immortal world now?" Su Yun asked anxiously. "After the news that you released spread out, a large number of immortals went to pay their respects to Xiang Yang every day. However, amongst these immortals, there were some who did have a way to revive the Wanhua Realm Lord and came with sincerity. However, most of them came here to investigate and find clues regarding the evil sword." Sword Ancestor said indifferently with his hands behind his back. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned. The matter of the immortal court has finally been resolved, but the matter of the evil sword is a problem. "Su Yun, what do you plan to do?" Sword Ancestor stared at Su Yun, his expression becoming serious. In the eyes of the Sword Ancestor, the evil sword was a threat, and Ling Qing, he was also a threat. Only by getting rid of them would he be able to eliminate all future troubles and get rid of them once and for all. However, Su Yun would definitely not allow him to do that. Even though he knew, the Sword Ancestor still wanted to see his attitude. "Naturally, it's to make the evil sword disappear," Su Yun said indifferently. "I will bring the sword sheath and leave everyone's line of sight. No one will be able to find the evil sword. This way, the myriad realms will be at peace." Hearing that, the Sword Ancestor sighed. "Since that's the case, all right then." He turned around and prepared to leave, but before he left, he said, "The immortal world is not peaceful, although you want to bring the evil sword away, but as long as the evil sword is by your side, you will never be at peace. In addition, there seems to be another force investigating you." Xiang Yang's reaction. "A while ago, sect leader Qiantian came to visit, saying that he wanted to bring you a message." "Qiantian? What message?" "He asked you to submit to the power behind him." "Surrender? There are so many immortal sects in the immortal world. Why do you want me to surrender?" "My guess is that they're most likely here for the evil sword. Be careful, behind Qiantian, there is the shadow of the divine dragon race. You should quickly recuperate and return to the immortal world. The sword ancestor said as he flew into the air. During this period of time, I might not be in the immortal world. The spirit swords in the sword sheath have suffered quite a bit of damage, and the aura of the evil sword is very strong. Wait for me to find some spirit swords and fill the ceiling array in the sword sheath. With the last words said, the figure of the sword ancestor could no longer be seen. After the sword ancestor left, Su Yun fell into deep thought. The Divine Dragon race was an ancient clan that was as famous as the Divine Eagle race, but its strength was not something that the Divine Eagle race could compare to. He never thought that the Divine Dragon race would also be interested in the evil sword. Although the evil sword helped you kill the great immortal judge, I'm afraid the trouble it brought you is even worse than the great immortal judge. Long Xianli said softly. Su Yun sighed, turned his head to look at Long Xianli, and said, I originally wanted to stay here for a while longer, but it seems like I won't be able to. You haven't fully recovered from your injuries, so there's no need to be in such a hurry to leave. Furthermore, aren't there people guarding the immortal world? Why are you so worried? Although Qin Xianlong and the others are not bad, they can deal with those immortal sects, but if they were to face a powerful force like the Divine Dragon race, they would not be able to. Taking advantage of the fact that the situation has not deteriorated to a terrible state, I need to rush over as soon as possible. Furthermore, I also need to take care of the matter of the Realm Master's revival. She died for me, so I must think of a way to save her. Su Yun said with a serious face. Long Xianli nodded, but did not say anything. Su Yun turned, soared into the sky, and left the sky martial continent. The fall of the great immortal judge did not mean that everything was over. The existence of the evil sword had been completely exposed. This sword that ruled over everything was like the most beautiful wine. It had already attracted the coveting of countless people, and the enemies that Su Yun had to face would only increase. He did not know that just as he was about to return to the immortal world, a group of heroes had already risen in the immortal world. A powerful group was already heading towards the encampment. Chapter 1389. Divine Eagle Race arranged for 2 of their clansmen to guard the 9-god wind heavenly pearls. After all, this was their clan protecting treasure, so they did not dare to let their guard down. After Su Yun rushed back to the encampment, Xiang Yang immediately invited him into the meeting hall. At the same time, he showed Su Yun the resurrection method that he had sorted out during this period of time. The immortal world was vast, and there were as many people with strange abilities as there were hairs on a cow. There were also countless strange and dazzling Dharma idol, and there were actually 7 or 8 types of soul-gathering techniques. This was truly out of Su Yun's expectations. Su Yun took the information from Xiang Yang and looked at it carefully. But after looking through it one by one, his face became serious. Although there was a technique to reunite the soul, the conditions were too harsh. Moreover, most of the spells might not succeed. They all had a chance of success, with a high success rate of 60% and a low success rate of 10%. The price of failure was the same, and the soul would scatter. Is there no better way? Su Yun put down the information and asked Xiang Yang. Although these methods were more exquisite than the last, they all had risks. He did not want to take this risk. No more. Xiang Yang shook his head helplessly. In truth, the method of the immortal court sky sovereign to reassemble the soul also has a chance of failure, but his chance of failure is very low, only 20%. If we can find someone as proficient in Tao techniques as the immortal court sky sovereign, we might be able to do the same. It's just that although the immortal world is big, there aren't many people who are proficient in Tao techniques. This subordinate has been searching for dozens of days, but to no avail. It's been hard on you. Su Yun was unwilling. He secretly clenched his fists, but hated himself for being powerless. Xiang Yang carefully looked at Su Yun and said, Master, we don't have much time left. If we don't cast a spell to gather, I'm afraid this Wanhua Realm Lord will be hopeless. But the highest chance is only 60%. The risk is too great. Reuniting the soul is a heaven-defying method to change one's fate. How can it be perfect? Even if the immortal court sky sovereign is here, there will still be risks. Xiangyang said. Su Yun was silent. But just then, an immortal from the encampment suddenly ran in, knelt down on one knee, and anxiously said to them, Master, something bad has happened. Outside, there's a group of divine dragons outside. Divine dragon? Su Yun stood up and frowned. Divine dragon races people? That's right. They've taken control of the main gate of my base and are killing immortals. They've even threatened that if you don't come out to meet them, they'll attack. The man shouted in panic. How arrogant! Xiangyang couldn't help asking. Attack? Storm the encampment. Why were the people of the divine dragon race so powerful? What is their purpose? Furthermore, wasn't the divine dragon race being too impulsive? The celestial realm was huge, and there were many ancient clans. However, the two strongest clans were the Divine Eagle clan and the Divine Dragon clan, which was rarely seen. The people of the Divine Dragon race were naturally low-key, although they did not come out of the mountains like the Divine Eagle race. No matter what they did, they would not reveal themselves and would rarely interfere in the battles between the immortals outside. The Divine Dragon race was extremely rich, and the strength of the people in the clan was definitely not weak. At least, the Divine Eagle race was definitely not a match for the Divine Dragon race. However, even so, Su Yun's power was not to be underestimated. The underworld, true devil realm, spirit demon realm, and the huge power of the immortal world had long since surpassed the Divine Eagle race. A while ago, the great demons that were hidden in the immortal world had already found news about the Demon Saint, and it had already reached an extremely critical stage. If they succeeded, the Demon Saint could also be revived, and if the great demons progressed smoothly, with the help of the Demon Saint and a group of great demons, Su Yun's strength would be even greater. Furthermore, the Imperial Sword was about to complete its transformation and recover from its injuries. Su Yun's side was not lacking in experts, so how could a mere divine dragon race dare to attack him? Unless there was an even more powerful force standing behind the divine dragon race. Xiangyang had already gone to inform Wei Ming, Kai Tian, and the others to make preparations, while Qin Xianlong, Xingbai, and Faceless had already followed Su Yun out. The entrance of the encampment, which was usually bustling with noise and excitement, was now completely empty. The immortals either hid far away or hid inside the encampment. No one dared to linger outside. Su Luluo led a few experts and stood at the entrance, facing off against the divine dragon race people. Outside the encampment, dozens of giant dragons that were hundreds of feet long soared into the sky. The sky was filled with their huge silhouettes, and these divine dragons were all different in shape. Some had 4 horns, some had 6 horns, and the number of claws and the thickness of their scales were all different. They were all of different colors, and all of them glowed with a mysterious light. However, these dragons did not seem to be the strongest. This was because there was a group of people standing in front of them. These people were either middle-aged or elderly. Standing at the very front was an old man with sparse white hair and a brown staff in his hand. The old man was dressed in a green robe with dragon patterns on it. His eyes were green, and his aura was restrained. He was like a god standing in front of everyone. Just a glance at him was enough to give people a shocking feeling that he was bottomless. So strong. Su Yun frowned. He was afraid that the old man's strength should be at the level of the divine eagle race and sword ancestor. Su Luo's cultivation was not high. Facing such a group of strong warriors, she could not hold on any longer. Her face was pale white. Blood even flowed out of the corner of her mouth. If not for the experts behind her using their qi to defend her, she would have fainted long ago. Luluo, you step down first. Su Yun took a few steps forward and bellowed. He understood why Su Luluo insisted. She did not want Su Yun to lose in terms of aura. Su Yun was also very surprised. Su Luluo actually persisted until now. It seems like I've been underestimating her. Big brother, be careful, Su Luluo said weakly. She took half a step back, but in the end, she could not hold on any longer and fainted. Hu Qianmei, who was behind her, took a few steps forward, hugged her delicate body, and jumped back. Su Yun turned his head and stared at the divine dragon race people in front of him, only to see a familiar figure amongst them. Qian Tian. Su Yin said indifferently. Lord Su, long time no see. I never thought that after the last time we parted, you would actually do such a big thing. The hegemony of the immortal world, the immortal court, was actually subverted by you. We still have to congratulate you here. Your great achievements will definitely be recorded in the history of the immortal world and be worshipped by future generations. Qian Tian laughed at a moderate pace and even specially bowed to Su Yun. The news of Su Yun destroying the immortal court had already spread throughout the entire immortal world, and countless immortals were both respectful and fearful of him. He was a newly risen power, a newly risen supreme expert, but Qian Tian's emphasis was also hinting that Su Yun was too sharp and would be easily suppressed. The immortal court had many enemies, but there were also many friends, at least right now. The enemies Su Yun had to face were still not few. Lord Qian Tian is too kind. I do not dare to be recorded in history. And furthermore, the overthrow of the immortal court is not Su Yun's work alone. Didn't your Qian Weitian also contribute a lot? Su Yun said indifferently. How can the little things that Qian Weitian has done be compared to your great deeds, Lord Su? Qian Tian seemed to feel that there was no point in continuing on this topic. He also saw that the old man beside him had a displeased expression, as though he was impatient, and immediately laughed. Today, we have something important to tell you. Let's talk about this next time. Although Qian Tian spoke tactfully, he was not polite at all. Gossip? Su Yun had overturned the immortal court, and it was actually just gossip? And Qian Tian was not polite at all. He did not discuss it with Su Yun, but directly said it to him. This seemed to be a phrase used by superiors to subordinates, right? Su Yun frowned, but did not say anything. However, Qian Tian's pride had exceeded his expectations. We have only one goal for coming here, and that is to hope that you, Su Yun, will submit to our Lord Dark Sky, join our eternal God assembly, and serve us, Qian Tian said with a smile. Although he did not intentionally display an arrogant attitude, the disdain and ridicule in his eyes was clearly captured by Su Yun. Su Yun looked at Qian Tian, and his gaze landed on the old man beside him. You are great clan elder of the divine dragon race, Azure Dragon. The old man snorted and said impatiently, I advise you to quickly surrender to us. Lest we start fighting, your place will be littered with corpses. The great clan elder of the divine dragon race was not polite at all. He did not play Su Yun, who had killed the immortal court in his eyes at all. According to his attitude, Su Yun was most likely lucky. If not, how could a young man with a weak aura kill the terrifying immortal court? People at their level understood the strength of the immortal court. Even this Azure Dragon Elder was extremely fearful of the immortal court. How could this young man have such methods? The Azure Dragon Elder did not want to waste words with Su Yun and directly stated his intentions. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned. He stared at the old man and did not hold back. Where did your confidence come from to dare say such words? Confidence? The Azure Dragon snorted. I think you are ignorant. I will give you half an incense stick of time to think about it. Quickly give me an answer, or else I will start attacking. When the time comes, don't blame our divine dragon race for being plunged into misery and suffering. However, the divine dragon race did indeed have the qualifications to say such words. As an ancient clan, the divine dragon race had a deep foundation, strong strength, and a deep foundation. It was not something the divine eagle race could compare to. Half an incense stick of time? I don't think there's any need. Seeing that the other party did not seem to want to talk to him and had a high and mighty attitude, completely using a commanding tone to negotiate with him, Su Yun immediately understood their intentions and immediately pulled out the dual moon sword, pointing the sword tip at the old man, and said coldly, If you think that you're stronger than the immortal court, then come. I want to see what methods your divine dragon race has. As the sound of his voice faded, a large number of figures scuttled out from the encampment. They were all experts of the immortal sex, densely packed like locusts, surrounding the people of the divine dragon race. Chapter 1390. What Su Yun hated the most in his life was being threatened, especially when these people were acting so high and mighty. It made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Although he did not eliminate the immortal court for the sake of the immortal world, No matter what, the ones who benefited were still these immortals. But he did not expect them to come out and cause trouble at this time, and even asked him to submit. How could he not be angry? Back then, when they were surrounding and attacking the immortal court, they were nowhere to be seen. Seeing Su Yun's intense reaction, Qian Tian immediately said coldly, "Lord Su Yun, don't be stubborn. Maybe you don't understand our eternal God Council. But let me warn you, a mere immortal court, we can easily destroy it. Even though you were lucky enough to destroy the immortal court, it does not mean that you can dominate the immortal world. The master of the eternal God Council, Lord Dark Sky, will lead us to eternal life, if you are willing to abandon the dark and surrender to Lord Dark Sky. You will definitely be able to obtain everything you want. Isn't that better than your current achievements? You speak in such a dignified manner." Su Yun snorted. "After going around in such a big circle, do you think I don't know what you guys are after? Don't use such useless words to persuade me to surrender. If you want to fight, then come." The reason why these people suddenly appeared at this time was because they coveted the evil sword in Su Yun's hands. After the limitless sword sheath sealed the evil sword, the sword ancestor disappeared with the sword sheath. How many people in the immortal world had chased after him, but there was no news of him? Now that the evil sword had reappeared, wouldn't these people rush over like they were injected with chicken blood? It was no wonder that these people looked down on Su Yun. According to their opinion, Su Yun must have relied on the evil sword to defeat the immortal court and could not be considered to have any real ability. How could a nameless guy suddenly destroy the immortal court? He must have relied on external objects. How arrogant! Hearing that, the green dragon immediately flew into a rage. Who do you think you are? After destroying the immortal court, your confidence is so inflated? Don't you know that there is always someone better than you? With that, the green dragon actually rushed forward and clawed at Su Yun. This attack did not have any warning signs and actually had the intention of launching a sneak attack. Su Yun's face changed. His chi was weak and his injuries had not healed. The other party obviously knew, but he still chose to attack him at this time. How shameless was the other party. However, this world was just so cruel. If you were weak, you should be bullied. There was no logic to it. Logic was built on absolute strength. However, Su Yun did not show any weakness. At this critical juncture, if he retreated, the hearts of the people would definitely be shaken. If he really fought with the Eternal Heaven Gods Council in the future, he would definitely suffer a huge loss. Immediately, he leaped into the air and punched at the green dragon. His chi exploded and his blood boiled. Such a heavy burden caused his face to turn pale. However, he was fearless and continued to attack. Reckless fool! The Azure Dragon was incomparably furious. He did not hold back at all with his claw attack. Bang! The fist and claw collided. The surging power started to affect the two's bodies. Su Yun felt his body trembling. It was extremely uncomfortable. On the other hand, the green dragon was not affected at all. Even though Su Yun's strength was strong, his physical body was even more astonishing. This little bit of strength was not enough to shake him. Only SOSO. The Azure Dragon snorted. Then, it suddenly exerted strength and roared. Scram! The surging power followed the claw and fiercely struck towards Su Yun. But in that moment of life and death, a mysterious divine power suddenly surged from Su Yun's body into his fist, striking towards the green dragon's claws. The divine power was like a hot knife through butter, completely counterattacking the green dragon's power. The green dragon's body trembled violently twice. It was caught off guard and was pushed back by the divine power, flying backwards. After landing on the ground, before it could even stabilize itself, it almost fell. Elder, the people behind him hurriedly supported him. No need. The Azure Dragon glared at Su Yun. He shook off the people beside him and snorted. God power? I have it too. Again. Again? Su Yun was not stupid. He said coldly, I just fought with Grand Judge Immortal, and am injured, but you took advantage of my injuries to forcefully exchange blows with me? Your divine dragon clan sure is awe-inspiring. You only know how to bully the sick and injured, taking advantage of others? Powerful. Powerful. Exactly. To think that you guys are on par with the Divine Eagle Clan? I think in terms of honesty, the Divine Eagle Clan is better. Your Divine Dragon Clan is just a bunch of deceiving people. Xing Bai, who was at the side, was not polite at all and directly spoke out. You, Elder Azure Dragon, was infuriated. Seeing that the situation was bad, Qian Tian rolled his eyes and immediately spoke. Su Yun, don't be so arrogant. If you really want to fight with Elder Azure Dragon, you're definitely not his match. Don't get complacent just because you took advantage of him. If Elder Azure Dragon wants to kill you, it will be as easy as flipping his hand. I think you should obediently submit. In case we really fight, you guys won't look good. Without waiting for Su Yun to speak, Xing Bai shouted again. Is this Elder Azure Dragon of yours really that powerful? Can he be stronger than Grand Judge Immortal? Even Grand Judge Immortal died in the hands of my lord. Why would he be afraid of a dead worm like you? Aren't you afraid of hurting your tongue with your boasting? Bastard. The people of the Divine Dragon Clan could not hold it in any longer. All of them were furious. The dozens of divine dragons that filled the sky roared. The dragon's might rippled, causing the immortals to turn pale, their bodies trembling. In terms of power, Su Yun's side was completely defeated. However, Su Yun was not afraid. Even if he lost everything, he could not lose his heart. Is Lord Su really that powerful? I don't believe it. Elder Azure Dragon seemed to have seized the opportunity and regained his calm, and said indifferently, how about this? Since Lord Su Yun is so confident, why not compete with our Divine Dragon Clan? If you win, my Divine Dragon Clan will no longer harass you. And if you lose, all of you must submit to our Eternal God Council. What do you think? Hearing that, Su Yun frowned. What is it? You don't dare? This is just a bunch of mobs. They only obtain some luck, and yet they are so complacent. In my opinion, these people are all deceiving people. How can we, the Divine Dragons, waste our breath on a group of clowns? Why don't we just kill our way in and kill that arrogant person? The people from the Divine Dragon Clan started to clamor, their voices incomparably arrogant. Hearing that, Qian Tian was immediately interested. The Azure Dragon suggestion was not bad. If that was the case, there would be a chance, and if Su Yun did not agree, the Eternal God Council would have an excuse and could completely humiliate the Divine Dragon Clan, humiliate the Dragon's might, and take action against Su Yun. He believed that the people of the immortal world would not say anything. After all, both sides had already caused the matter to reach such a stage. And if he agreed, then Su Yun would not have many days left to live. How could Su Yun not understand this logic? The reason why the Divine Dragon Clan had not attacked yet was because they had not found a good excuse. Since they dared to come, they believed that they had investigated Su Yun's background. Su Yun believed that the power in his hands was temporarily not a match for the Eternal God Council, at least after going through a series of battles. Many people had not recovered from their injuries. The Imperial Underworld Sword, Holy Fire Devil, and Empress of the Nether all needed time to recuperate, adding the Devil Saint and the other great devils. If he were to start a war with the Eternal God Council, he would be at an extreme disadvantage. All right, since that's the case, I'll accept the challenge. Su Yun nodded his head and said, he had no choice and no reason to be afraid. Straightforward. Azure Dragon Clan Elder laughed out loud. How are we going to fight? Su Yun asked. 10 days later, at the peak of the sky, our Divine Dragon Clan will be waiting for you. Both sides will send one participant to fight, regardless of life or death. Azure Dragon Clan Elder laughed, but a cold glint flashed in his eyes. 10 days? Su Yun did not agree, and snorted. With my injuries, I won't be able to recover in 10 days. Isn't that too short? Then how long do you plan to wait? At least half a year. Su Yun bellowed. Half a year? Hearing that, Qian Tian frowned. That's too long. We can't afford to wait. Only 10 days. Oh, can't afford to wait? Do you Divine Dragon Clan and Eternal God Council like to take advantage of others when they are weak? Seems like I need to inform the immortals of the immortal world about this, and let everyone judge. Su Yun snorted. Once the news spread, the Divine Dragon Clan would lose all face. Suyin did not know whether the Eternal God Council cared about face or not, but he knew that every single person from the Divine Dragon clan cared about face. As expected. Good. Half a year is half a year. The Azure Dragon clan elder snorted. I hope that your strength will be stronger than your mouth. With that, he turned around and soared into the sky, fleeing into the distance. The rest of the divine dragons followed suit. Qian Tian looked at Su Yun with a profound look, the corner of his mouth raised into a strange smile, and he flew away. Master, after these people left, Qin Qianlong and the rest immediately rushed over. Master this. What should we do? I'm afraid we won't be able to defeat the Divine Dragon clan in half a year, Qin Qianlong said with a bitter face. What is it? You don't have confidence in me? Su Yun laughed. The great clan elder of the Divine Dragon race, the Azure Dragon, is only SOSO. If I were to fight with him, I have a chance of winning. Why worry? What if the Divine Dragon race sends their patriarch to fight with you? Xingbai asked carefully. No way. Su Yun shook his head. Although the Divine Dragon race seems to be relying on someone right now, a dragon is a dragon. They should have their own pride. If they were to send out a clan leader because of this matter, then the Divine Dragon race's face would truly be gone. Su Yun turned and walked back into the encampment. I'm going into closed-door cultivation. Send some pills to my cultivation ground. In addition, prepare 1 billion immortal coin. I want to eat them. Yes, sir. Qin Qianlong immediately went to prepare. Half a year's time was neither long nor short. However, this news spread throughout the entire immortal world within a few days. For a moment, countless immortals looked over. They were also wondering who this once unknown young man was. Just how strong was he? Was he really the one who killed that insufferably arrogant overlord? Wait and see. Chapter 1391. Half a year's time was enough for Su Yun to recover his strength. But the reason why he requested for so much time was to let Xiang Yang and the rest prepare as soon as possible. After all, the Eternal God Council this time did not seem to be simple. Even the Divine Dragon race was willing to submit to them. This was enough to explain everything. The Divine Dragon race was the most arrogant race in the immortal world. As a Divine Dragon, no matter how strong or weak they were, no matter who they faced, they would always have a high and mighty attitude. It was not because they were arrogant by nature, but because the dragon blood flowing in their bodies did not allow them to bow and scrape. Of course, there was no need to doubt the strength of the Divine Dragon race. Most of the Divine Dragons that entered the Divine Dragon race were dragons that had successfully transformed from various planes. Not only was their talent astonishing, their cultivation was also extremely terrifying, and the dragons that were born from within the Divine Dragon race, their talent was even more astonishing, and they were incomparably powerful. The cultivation speed of a dragon was more than 100 times that of an ordinary immortal. This also caused the Divine Dragon race to be filled with experts. The Divine Eagle race, which was also an ancient race, could not compare to the Divine Dragon race in terms of strength. Speaking of the Divine Dragon race, Su Yun thought of the traitorous dragon beast mark on his body. Who's outside? Just then, Su Yun heard light footsteps coming from outside and asked, Big brother, it's me, Luluo. Su Yiluo's voice came from outside the cultivation grounds. Come in and talk. Yes, Su Luluo said softly, then gently walked in, closed the door, looked at Su Yun, who was sitting cross-legged in the middle of the training grounds, and slowly walked over. Su Yun closed his eyes and was still circulating the qi in his body. He needed to adjust his condition in the shortest time possible so that he could save time to do other things. Big brother, do you have the confidence to defeat the experts of the Divine Dragon race? Su Luluo looked at the pale-faced Su Yun and asked, This is no longer a matter of confidence. Since the other party has come, they will not give up. If I don't accept this battle, the consequences will only be worse. Su Yun opened his eyes, looked at Luluo, and smiled. But you don't have to worry too much. If we really fight, I still have some confidence. Hearing that, Su Yiluo's tensed face finally relaxed a little. I've already ordered Faceless to investigate the Eternal Celestial Gods Council, but the information isn't complete yet. However, Big brother, the most important thing now is the revival of the Realm Lord. There's not much time left. You better make a decision quickly. Which method should we use? Otherwise, if we miss the time, we really won't have another chance. Su Luluo said. Su Yun sighed. His heart was extremely conflicted. How could he not be worried about this matter? However, the primordial heavenly gods' council had popped out at this critical juncture, and he had no way of finding a better method. How much time does she have? If the Divine Eagle Lord is willing to take action, he can last for at most half a year. Su Luluo said. Half a year? It wasn't a short amount of time, but in this half a year, he had to deal with the primordial heavenly gods' council and the divine dragon race. Otherwise, these immortals following him wouldn't be able to survive. If he submitted to the eternal heaven gods' council, the ominous sword would definitely be snatched by them. As such, Ling Qing, you would definitely not agree to it. The appearance of the ominous sword, the destruction of the myriad worlds. Oh, right. Just then, Su Luluo suddenly thought of something and said anxiously, Big brother, there's something I forgot to tell you. What is it? Su Yin looked at Su Luluo. Su Luo's small face revealed a trace of seriousness and said, I heard that in the divine dragon race, there's a treasure called the soul-gathering pearl. It has the effect of reviving the dead. I have never heard of it failing. If I obtain it, I believe it will definitely be able to save the Realm Lord. Soul-gathering pearl? Su Yun frowned. I have also heard of this item, but it is said that there are only 3 of them in the divine dragon race, and after 10,000 years, they have already used up 2 of them. So how could they give up the last one? Unless, big brother, don't act recklessly. The divine dragon race is not like the divine eagle race. There are many enchantments in the divine dragon race. There are many experts. If you go and steal, once you fail, you will definitely be consigned to eternal damnation. Su Luluo seemed to have seen through Su Yun's intentions and immediately said, Actually, you don't have to do this. Don't you have a challenge with the divine dragon race? The people of the divine dragon race have a lot of face, so they will most likely agree, as long as you defeat the people of the divine dragon race and obtain the soul-gathering pearl. That way, the Realm Lord can be saved. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded his head. All right, Luluo, let's do it this way. Immediately send someone to the divine eagle race and ask the eagle race to help. Once the effect of the 9-god wind heavenly pearl is over, I'll have to trouble him to gather the soul for the Realm Lord. Yes. Su Luluo left, but Su Yun was still in the training grounds. After going through so many battles, he felt that his strength had increased by another level. The current him had already reached a level where no matter what he looked at, he could see through everything. At the same time, a new world was opened up in his heart. The starry sky, mountains, and rivers were all formed in his heart. This was a higher realm that was above the spirit god. Returning to the void, the Lord of the divine eagle race, sword ancestor, fire holy devil, and even the imperial Ming sword had all reached the level of returning to the void, but Qin Qianlong and the rest were still a step away. Although it was only a step, it was something that many people could not cross in their entire lives. Although his comprehension of the realm had increased, Su Yun paid more attention to his methods. The current him was already able to completely understand the essence of the limitless sword arts, especially after returning to the void. He felt that his soul had a strange connection with the stars in the sky and the mountains below, as though he had already merged with the world, or perhaps the world had become one with him. After returning to the void, a person's spiritual level had undergone a significant sublimation, as though it had undergone a qualitative change, and the aura in his body had also begun to communicate with his spirit. He casually waved his hand, and the sky darkened. The stars turned into sharp swords. The mountains turned into huge swords, and everything in the world began to move according to his will. Su Yun did not know if the limitless sword arts was a mystical sword art created by the sword ancestor, but he believed that there was still room for improvement in this sword art. The Wanxiang sword gathered the power of heaven and earth, but this power was too scattered. If he could forcefully combine this power into one and transform it into the limitless sword, the power it would unleash would be terrifying. Su Yun took a deep breath. With a leap, he transformed into a ray of white light and rushed out of the cultivation grounds. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at a place 10,000 miles away, where immortals were rarely seen. He raised his hand, pointed at the sky, and released a ray of sword chi. The sword chi entered the sky, and the sky instantly darkened, connecting to the horizon. At the same time, a terrifying and heavy sword chi descended from the sky. The sword chi rippled, occupying every corner of the world. He closed his eyes and tried to connect with every star in the sky. Although they were stars, they gave him a strange feeling, and the sword concept was especially wondrous. He kept walking in a narrow gap. When he raised his head, he could only see a sliver of the sky. However, as the concept continued to evolve, the matter that bound him on both sides began to move to the left and right, and the sliver of the sky gradually opened up. This kind of shocking change made people sigh. The circulation of the chi in his body slowed down, and the chi meridian stopped expanding. Everything seemed to have reached a critical point, but Su Yun felt as if he had suddenly opened up and stepped into a new level. If it was cultivation, half a year of time would not be very long. Not long after, it was the day of a decisive battle with the divine dragon race. Qin Qianlong had already gathered the power of a few immortal sects and gathered them in the encampment. At the same time, he had gathered the power of the true devil realm and the underworld, and the Nether Empress had already led a large number of nether beasts to wait for orders at the immortal gate. As long as there was any movement, she would rush into the immortal world with the true devil realm's army, led by Octagon Aniseed, to help Su Yun. The Lord of the Divine Eagle race had also brought a group of elites over. Back then, when he killed the great immortal judge, the Lord of the Divine Eagle race had promised Su Yun that he would temporarily lend him the 9 divine wind pearls to store the soul of the realm lord. Now that Su Yun and the divine dragon race were fighting, he was worried about the clan protecting treasure, so he came here to protect it. However, the Lord of the Divine Eagle race had made it clear that he would not participate in the battle between Su Yun and the divine dragon race. It was not that the Lord of the Divine Eagle race was heartless, but he did not want to offend the divine dragon race. The divine eagle race had already suffered heavy losses in the battle with the great immortal judge, so there was no need to clash with the divine dragon race again. Although Su Yun could understand, since the divine eagle race had already expressed his stance, he did not think too much about it. A few days before the decisive battle, a few majestic dragon figures had already appeared outside the encampment. They were churning in the sea of clouds, their dragon might rippling, and their imposing manner was extremely imposing. Some of the famous immortal sects in the immortal world had also rushed over. Naturally, they wouldn't miss out on such a great battle. Moreover, countless people wanted to see with their own eyes what kind of technique this peerless expert who killed the grand immortal judge had. The tyrants of the immortal world all rushed towards the secret encampment that Su Yun had opened up. This encampment, that had been quiet for an unknown number of years, was now in an uproar. Everyone was waiting for Su Yun to appear. The divine dragons that were lingering outside the encampment also began to clamor. Why? So many people. When Xing Bai and Kai Tian, who were patrolling the encampment, walked to the entrance of the encampment, they were shocked to see the densely packed immortals outside. From their clothes, one could tell which sect they were from. No wonder there have been a lot of people visiting us recently. It seems like they are all here for the Lord. Xing Bai said, "This is just the tip of the iceberg. I heard that there are even more people at the top of the sky, and most of the people from the divine dragon race have already rushed there. They're just waiting for the Lord to go over and fight it out. I wonder if we can win this battle." Kai Tian muttered. The two of them were extremely worried. It had already been a few months since the two of them had seen Su Yun, and even Su Luluo could not find any traces of him at times, which made them feel helpless. The encampment needed an expert of the returning void realm to guard it, and with no other choice, Su Luluo could only invite the holy devil of fire. The divine dragon race was powerful, and it was only attached to the eternal god assembly, so who could guess how terrifying the eternal god assembly's strength was? However, there was only one day left before the decisive battle with the divine dragon race. Chapter 1392. Those who used the sword paid attention to showing off their sharpness, being fast and ruthless. Of course, this was only the most basic way to use the sword to kill the enemy. The people of the Sky Martial Continent used the sword to kill the enemy, and they all paid attention to this. But at Su Yun's level, no one cared about the so-called speed, the so-called ruthlessness. There were many sword Dao experts who could slash the heavens with one sword. What they cared about the most was the combination of the qi and the sword in their hands, and a concept that even cultivators could not escape from. However, could these alone determine the victory of a battle? Obviously, it was not enough. This was only the concept of an ordinary cultivator, and in Su Yun's mind, he still looked at speed and still looked at strength and ruthlessness. He believed that whether it was cultivation or cultivation, there was no end to it. Even if he reached the realm of the immortal court, there was still a long way to go. And just as Su Yun was still cultivating, Xiangyang was still busy preparing the materials needed for the decisive battle for Su Yun. If it was a one-on-one battle, and there was no prohibition on the use of pills or other items, I believe that the people of the Divine Dragon race would also use them. The Divine Dragon race is rich and has countless treasures. We need to prepare more good supplies for Master to support his battle. Otherwise, if we are at a disadvantage in this aspect, it would be our fault. In the meeting hall, Xiangyang said to Kai Tian, "Master Xiangyang, don't worry. I have already ordered people to prepare." Kai Tian said, "What are these?" Xiangyang asked. Kai Tian handed over a list and a space bag. Xiangyang took it and checked, and after scanning it, he asked, "Why isn't there a Qilin fruit? Didn't they say that a wild Qilin immortal tree was found in the southwest corner? If you have the help of the Qilin fruit, Master will have a lot of advantage." Hearing that, Kai Tian sighed and said helplessly, "I don't know when the people of the Divine Dragon race received the news of the Qilin immortal tree, but yesterday they sent people to occupy the Qilin immortal tree, and we are not allowed to get close. Our people who went to pick the Qilin fruit were all sent back. All of them were covered in wounds, and were in a miserable state. Aren't the people of the Divine Dragon race too overbearing?" Xiangyang was a little angry. This Qilin immortal tree is located within 10,000 miles of our encampment. Logically speaking, this Qilin immortal tree should belong to our allied forces. How can they just take it as they please? Why does it still belong to anyone? In this world, the one with the biggest fist has the final say. Isn't that right? I don't believe it. Xiangyang stood up and said, "If there is no Qilin fruit, and the Divine Dragon race has it, when the time comes to fight, Master will definitely suffer a huge loss. This won't do. It's only the day. Count some experts. Let's go to the Qilin immortal tree." "This should we inform the Lord?" Kai Tian hesitated. "There's no need. My lord is cultivating. You can come with me," Xiangyang said. Kai Tian nodded and immediately went to prepare. Kai Tian and Xiangyang led 1,000 spirit god experts straight towards the Qilin immortal tree area. Xiangyang followed Su Yun, who was the strongest. The moment Su Yun entered the immortal world, he had subdued Xiangyang. At first, Xiangyang was respectful towards Su Yun, but now it was not only respect but also worship and faith. He had personally seen Su Yun walk step by step, grow step by step, and all these years, Su Yun had never mistreated anyone. Xiangyang knew that after being muddle-headed for many years, this time, he had finally followed the right person. And what Su Yun had brought him was something he had never dared to imagine. Outside the Qilin immortal tree, more than a dozen divine dragons were circling. A few divine dragons transformed into human forms and began to pick the fruits on the Qilin immortal tree that grew on the cloud ground. Some of the fruits were not ripe yet, so they needed to wait for a few days. The Qilin immortal tree took 1,000 years to bloom and 1,000 years to bear fruit. Although the time was not long compared to the other immortal trees in the immortal world, the survival rate of the Qilin immortal tree was extremely low. There were only a handful of Qilin immortal trees in the immortal world, so to be able to find a Qilin immortal tree, it was a great luck, let alone a piece. The Qilin fruit would mature in a few days. After a few days, the fruit would be completely ripe. If an ordinary immortal could consume a fruit, it would be able to relax his tendons and expand his meridians, refine his immortal chi, and his strength would definitely increase greatly. The benefits were countless, and what was even more shocking was that if a person with exhausted chi could swallow a fruit, he would be able to recover 40% of his chi in an extremely short period of time. This was extremely useful in a fight. Xiang Yang and Kai Tian brought their men and rushed over aggressively. The people from the divine dragon race naturally did not give them any face. They snorted coldly and rushed towards Xiang Yang and Kai Tian. Scram, otherwise, don't blame us for being merciless. A sturdy wood dragon with yellow scales flew over and roared at Xiang Yang. Xiang Yang's expression was not alarmed. He stared at the Qilin immortal tree, gritted his teeth, and said, "This Qilin immortal tree belongs to our allied forces. How can you take it as you please? Yours?" Hearing that, Mulong laughed out loud. "Ridiculous! How laughable! What yours? This is clearly our divine dragon race's. Not only this, all of the Qilin immortal tree in the entire immortal world belong to our divine dragon race. It seems like you guys are going to openly rob it. So what?" Mulong did not care about Xiang Yang and the others. His huge dragon eyes were filled with disdain and contempt. He simply looked down on these inferior immortals. Although Su Yun had overturned the immortal court, they all thought that it was just Su Yun's luck, and the immortals under Su Yun's command were just scraped together. They looked powerful, but in reality, they were just a motley crew and could not do anything at all. Xiang Yang was furious. He wanted to go up and make a move, but he was stopped by Kai Tian. "Lord Xiang, at this critical juncture, let's not fight with them. Let's leave this place to them. We'll think of another way," Kai Tian said in a low voice. Even if he did not take the Qilin fruit, how could he let the matter of the divine dragon race crippling his disciples go just like that? After all, there would be a second time. At that time, wouldn't his disciples not even dare to leave the encampment? He had to get back at them. Forget about the Qilin fruit. Let me ask you, since you have taken the Qilin fruit, why did you injure my allied forces? Cripple his cultivation? Xiang Yang asked loudly. They're just a bunch of Tom, Dick, and Harry. So what if they're crippled? With their low cultivation, it shouldn't take long for them to cultivate again, right? Mulong didn't care at all. His frivolous attitude simply made everyone seethe with anger. "You have to give me an explanation." Xiang Yang gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. However, Mulong's expression suddenly changed. He snorted coldly and said, "Explain? With just you? Do you really think you're somebody? Do you know who we are? A bunch of ants dares to ask me for an explanation? Forget about you guys, even if it's that Su Yun of yours. In the eyes of our divine dragon race, what would it be?" After saying that, the wooden dragon swayed its body and directly rushed towards Xiang Yang. Xiang Yang didn't hold back. He raised his palm and attacked the wooden dragon. A large amount of light shot out from his hand, and a circle of stars overflowed from his palm. This was the astral rotation technique that he had been bitterly cultivating during this period of time. It was used to reverse the trajectory of the stars to increase the strength of his strength. Sure enough, Mulong's rash attack and underestimation of Xiang Yang's strength caused him to suffer a huge loss. With a bang, Xiang Yang's huge body was continuously sent flying. Mulong struggled in the air for a while before finally stabilizing his body. However, he was in a sorry state, especially since there was a bright red palm print on his head. Xiang Yang was not overbearing. He only stared coldly at Mulong and shouted, "If you want the Qilin fruit, then I'll give it to you, but the reason why we retreated is not because we are afraid, but because we do not want to cause trouble. If you bully the people of my allied army again, I, Xiang Yang, will definitely not let you off." With that, Xiang Yang waved his hand and turned around. "Let's go." The group of people immediately wanted to leave. However, Mulong did not agree. He was beaten back in front of everyone by a nobody like Xiang Yang, causing his face to lose all face and his anger to soar to the heavens. Seeing that Xiang Yang was about to leave, he moved his dragon body to block in front of them. You dare to leave after insulting my divine dragon race. Mulong roared. Kill them. Don't let a single one of them go. Kill them all. Roar. The dozen or so divine dragons immediately rushed over, all of them brimming with killing intent. Seeing that, Xiangyang's face changed. Even though he had come to seek revenge, he had no intention of shedding all pretense of cordiality with the divine dragon race. After all, the divine dragon race still had the eternal celestial gods' council behind them. Before investigating the matter thoroughly, he did not want to complicate matters. However, he had not expected these divine dragons to be so narrow-minded, wanting to kill them all at the slightest disagreement. However, since they wanted to fight, Xiangyang had no other choice. More than 1,000 experts immediately started fighting with these divine dragons. Xiangyang had a lot of people on his side, so if they were to really fight, he would not be afraid. At this level, they were only existences at the profound spirit god level, and although there were many at the peak, if they were to really fight, they would not be at an advantage. If not for the support of the dragon's might, these dozen or so divine dragons would have been killed long ago. Although Xiangyang hated divine dragon race because of the matter of his disciple being crippled, he had not lost his rationality. He knew that if he were to do anything to divine dragon race at this time, it would only cause trouble, and at that time, it would not be easy to mediate. Mulong frantically scurried around, his vigorous claws fiercely smashing onto the heads of the allied forces. His killing moves were frequent, fierce, and mournful. Although Xiangyang did not want to fight to the death, these people from divine dragon race could not care less. Seeing this, Xiangyang could only grit his teeth and retreat, letting everyone leave. But at this moment, an angry shout came from afar. Everyone stop. This voice was mixed with the might of a dragon. It was so powerful that it shook the people on this side to the point that their bodies trembled. They couldn't help but stop. Xiangyang and the others gathered together and looked towards the source of the voice. They saw a group of black-robed people walking over. These people all had dragon horns on their heads. Divine dragon race. It's an elder. Seeing that, Mulong and the others immediately transformed into human form and cupped their fists towards the black-robed men. Greetings, elder. What's going on? Who are these people? The leader, the black dragon elder, stared at Xiangyang and the others, his brows sunk as he snorted angrily. With the arrival of the divine dragon race's elders, this matter would not end so easily. Xiangyang and Kai Tian looked at each other and saw the seriousness in each other's eyes. Chapter 1393. Oh, so that's what happened? When the Black Dragon Elder heard the whole story from Mulong, he nodded. With Xiangyang and Kai Tian here, Mulong didn't dare to talk nonsense. However, he left out a lot of important points. Although his meaning was in place, it lacked the reasoning of Xiangyang and the others. You want these Qilin fruits? Black Dragon stared at Xiangyang and the others, lightly asking, Can you get back? Xiangyang sneered. Isn't this kind of wild spiritual creature something that can be found by whoever sees it first? How can you say it belongs to you? It doesn't matter who the Kirin fruit belongs to. You injured my disciple and crippled my disciple. Is that still reasonable? Xiangyang didn't want to waste his breath. He knew that he wasn't as strong as these people, so it was useless to say anything more. He cupped his fists and said, Let's skip the small talk. Farewell. Unexpectedly, Black Dragon had no intention of letting them leave. His eyes turned cold and a trace of ruthlessness flashed through them. Did I let you leave again? He raised his hand, and his palm transformed into a huge dragon claw. He grabbed all of them and slapped them back. Many people fell to the ground and vomited blood. They were in a sorry state. Even Xiangyang's face was pale, and the blood in his body was shaking. Kai Tian was slightly better, but he was also slightly injured. So powerful. This was at least Su Yun's origin realm. He never thought that an elder of the divine dragon race would have such ability. How is this possible? I've never heard of this before. Xiangyang's heart trembled. He felt that the information he had on the divine dragon race was already wrong. You have offended our divine dragon race. How can you leave? We divine dragons stand proudly in the world, and all living things should respect us. Our dignity is not to be trampled on. This Qilin divine tree. Not to mention that it isn't yours. Even if it is yours, if my divine dragon clan wants it, you have to obediently hand it over. Don't say a single word, understand? The black dragon elder said calmly. This is too much. The people on Xiangyang's side gritted their teeth, their faces flushed. Just as they were about to attack, Black Dragon was one step ahead of them. He gave the order, kill all of them. Leave no one alive. I want to intimidate that mob and let them understand that the divine dragon race is not to be provoked. Yes, Mu Long and the group of experts who came with He Long received the order and rushed towards Xiangyang's group. Not good. Kai Tian roared. Retreat. Retreat. These divine dragon race elders were powerful. They had already surpassed the peak of the spirit profound god, and were not people that they, who were still in the spirit profound god stage, could contend against. Retreat? You think you can retreat? The black dragon snorted coldly and sent out another palm strike, smashing the first person to escape into pieces. Even his soul was scattered. Seeing this, Xiangyang's expression turned cold. He knew that it wouldn't end so easily this time. Only Lord Heaven. Xiangyang turned his head and shouted at Kai Tian, who was in a panic. Kai Tian looked at him, only to see him take out a magic treasure from somewhere and stuff it into Kai Tian's palm. At first glance, it was actually connected to the space teleportation token inside the encampment. As long as he crushed it, he would be able to return to the encampment. Only then did he remember that this item was accidentally refined by an immortal who was proficient in spatial techniques in the encampment. That immortal had refined a total of 2 and handed them over to Su Yun. Su Yun had obtained one, and because Xiangyang had found an area with rich resources in the encampment, he had achieved a great merit. So Su Yun had rewarded him with one. This item was a life-saving treasure. Lord Xiangyang, hurry up and leave. Quickly inform the Lord of this matter. Quick! Xiangyang didn't even give Kai Tian a chance to speak and push him away. In the past few years, Xiangyang had followed Su Yun, and his strength had increased explosively, surpassing Kai Tian. If Xiangyang used this item, no one would be able to protect him, but Kai Tian was different because Xiangyang could protect him. Xiangyang turned around and stared at the divine dragon that was rushing over, his pale face revealing a trace of malevolence. Bastard, I want all of you dead. He roared angrily and rushed over. Kai Tian clenched his teeth, holding onto the order badge tightly in his hand. He knew that Xiangyang was buying time for him, and this was not the time to be unreasonable. A man could bow and submit, and if he wanted to spill his blood, he would not be in a hurry. Divine Dragon Race. Kai Tian shouted sinisterly as he crushed the order badge in his hand. When the black dragon sensed the spatial aura that Kai Tian was releasing, its face changed slightly. With a leap, it rushed towards Kai Tian. However, the order badge in Kai Tian's hand released a vortex of spatial energy that wrapped around his body and pulled him in, disappearing without a trace. When Kai Tian escaped, the black dragon secretly snorted. One actually ran away. Forget it, don't let the others go. With that, he grabbed an immortal beside him and directly shattered his body. His methods were extremely cruel. Su Yun's soul could sense the power of heaven and earth, and at this time, a small scale of heaven and earth was born in his heart. This kind of transformation surprised him, and in the unseen world, he felt that there was some kind of connection between the two worlds, and after repeatedly trying, he was shocked to discover that his soul was the bridge and connection between the two worlds. After pondering for a while, he was shocked. He raised his hand and tried to release the immortal chi like usual. The milky white chi rippled in his palm and bubbled. It looked no different from the chi released by an ordinary immortal, but just as Su Yun was carefully attracting the power of heaven and earth and gathering it into the immortal eyes, trying to use it, the immortal eyes suddenly flashed with a golden light, and a halo of light rushed out from the immortal eyes that the power of heaven and earth had touched, quickly covering all the immortal meridians in his body, and even his internal organs. And at this moment, the ball of immortal chi in Su Yun's hand underwent a qualitative change. The milky white qi turned golden, and this qi had a kind of endless and profound sense of reincarnation. God power. Astonishment flashed in Su Yun's eyes as he recognized the qi. Could it be that divine power was extracted from heaven and earth? This divine power was not comparable to the divine power released from the imperial battle robe. Its density and purity were much stronger than the imperial battle robe, and its internal structure was much more complicated than the divine power on the imperial battle robe. With this divine power, the immortal qi could no longer compete with it. Big brother. At this moment, a figure quickly walked into the training grounds and called out to him. Su Yun opened his eyes, stood up, and turned to look at the anxious Su Luluo, full of confusion. What's wrong, Luluo? Something's happened. Lord Xiangyang is dead. Su Luluo gasped for breath and said carefully, Dead? Su Yun's eyes widened in disbelief. He pressed down on Su Luluo's shoulder and asked anxiously, What exactly happened? How could Xiangyang die for no reason? Who did it? Divine Dragon Race. We found the Qilin tree and sent people to collect the Qilin fruit, but we were unexpectedly discovered by the Divine Dragon Race. In order to snatch the Qilin fruit, they injured our sect members and even crippled 2 of them. When Xiangyang found out, he wanted to go and seek justice, but unexpectedly, he was surrounded and killed by the elders of the Divine Dragon Race. Only then did he rely on the teleportation token that Xiangyang gave him to escape and return to report. He's waiting for you outside the meeting hall. Divine Dragon Race. Su Yun's face was sinister. His eyes were so cold that it was frightening. Outside the meeting hall, Su Yun anxiously walked over. Qin Xianlong, Xing Bai, Faceless, and Wei Ming had all arrived. Hu Qianmei seemed to have received the news. Looking at Su Yun's cold face, he was extremely worried. Kai Tian knelt outside the door, but did not enter. Come in and talk. Su Yun helped Kai Tian up and said, My lord. Kai Tian opened his mouth, but the voice that came out was extremely hoarse. This is a provocation, a naked provocation, Xing Bai said angrily. Divine Dragon Race does not put us in their eyes at all. They have no scruples at all. If the Divine Dragon Race really cared about Su Yun's existence, then they shouldn't have killed them all. But now it was different. The reason why the Divine Dragon Race is so powerful is not because they have no scruples, but because they're strong and are not afraid of us at all. Just now, I said that the Black Dragon's methods are comparable to the Holy Fire Devil, and the Spirit Profound Divine Man was easily killed with one hand. The Black Dragon is only the 5th elder in the Divine Dragon Race, yet he has such a sacred art. What methods does the Azure Dragon Great Elder have? Master, the information we have regarding the Divine Dragon Race is very different. Qin Qianlong shook his head and said, Master, what do you plan to do? Wei Ming looked at Su Yun. Su Yun stared coldly at Kai Tian below and asked, Kai Tian, you can come out alive. Xiangyang exchanged his life for it, right? Yes. Kai Tian clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. What do you plan to do? He returned Wei Ming's question back to Kai Tian. Kill. Unexpectedly, Kai Tian almost subconsciously roared this word. Everyone was shocked. Then kill, Su Yun said without hesitation. As these words fell, Wei Ming and the others were shocked. Master, are you planning to declare war on the Divine Dragon Race? Wei Ming walked over and said nervously, Declaration of war? Su Yun shook his head and said coldly, The war has already started. What else is there to declare? With that, he left. Xiangyang had followed Su Yun for the longest time, and could be said to be Su Yun's trusted aide. Now that he had been killed by the Divine Dragon Race, the anger in Su Yun's heart could be imagined. Wei Ming wanted to say something, but seeing the killing intent in Su Yun's eyes, he swallowed his words. At this time, it was best not to say anything. Of course, there was no other solution. The duel was coming. And since the Divine Dragon Race dared to do such a thing, it was completely forcing Su Yun and pressuring everyone. In this situation, there was only one way out, and that was to surrender, but Su Yun would never surrender. Everyone had followed him for so long, and they all understood his personality. Even the powerful Immortal Court was unable to make Su Yun surrender. So how could the divine dragon race do it? However, the current divine dragon race was not to be trifled with. After experiencing the battle of the immortal court, could he still contend against the divine dragon race? Furthermore, there were so many experts in the divine dragon race. Could Su Yun defeat them? They couldn't help but feel nervous. Chapter 1394. On the day of the decisive battle, many immortal sects from all over the immortal world came. Qi Yun Peak, Chiu Immortal Sect, Thousand Seals Sect, and the other immortal sects were all famous sects, and it was obvious that they were very concerned about this battle. Not to mention that this battle represented the clash of the highest fighting strength in the immortal world, which had a huge impact. Just by being able to witness this battle, many of the immortals had gained countless insights, especially those who were stuck at the bottleneck and could not step into the peak spirit god. Hey, speaking of which, who is this guy called Su Yun? Why haven't I heard of him before? You don't know Su Yun? Oh, that's right. You've been in closed-door cultivation for over 1,000 years, right? Su Yun is a newly risen supreme expert. His talent is extraordinary. His methods are heaven-defying. The sect leader of the hidden dragon hall Qin Xianlong, the hall master of the carefree palace Xing Bai, and the deacon of the great Linglong palace Wei Ming were all taken in by him, risking their lives for him. And this person even killed the great immortal realm, and is unparalleled in the world. And there are even rumors that he has subdued the true devil realm, the underworld, and the demon realm. So powerful? Then why did they fight against the people of the divine dragon race this time? I'm not sure, but a tall tree attracts the wind. Su Yun's rise to power must have harmed the interests of many people. I wonder how he provoked the divine dragon race. That's why there's such a battle. I know a little about this Su Yun. I heard that he obtained some luck and killed the great immortal judge, causing his reputation to rise. But he himself has also become complacent, arrogant, and conceited. His eyes have almost grown to the top of his head, and now he has kicked an iron plate. What kind of power is the divine dragon race? How can he let Su Yun be so arrogant? Let's see how Su Yun is taken care of. Only after obtaining luck did he kill the great immortal judge? What do you mean? With the strength of the great immortal judge, could he be killed by luck? Don't brag. Who's bragging? I heard that Su Yun accidentally found the great immortal judge's body and accidentally destroyed it, which was why he killed the great immortal judge. In that battle, Sword Ancestor and the Divine Eagle Lord were the two peerless experts that held back the great immortal judge. If not, how could Su Yun have gotten such a huge advantage? If that's the case, then isn't Su Yun a person who deceives the world? He definitely has some strength, but whether he's strong or not, we'll see later. Let's see how he dies later. However, most of the people did not think highly of Su Yun. Thinking about it, although Su Yun had been in the immortal world for a long time, because of the ominous sword and the immortal court, he had always acted in the dark. People only knew of the great demon of the immortal world, but did not know who Su Yun was. Killing a grand immortal judge wasn't something that many people believed. Therefore, there were all sorts of strange rumors coming out of the mouths of those who were not convinced. Haha, this place is so lively. It seemed like the fall of the immortal court had changed the atmosphere of the immortal world. Good. Ha ha ha. At this time, a burst of hearty laughter came from afar. Many people looked in the direction of the laughter and saw an immortal dressed in silver armor flying over on a cloud. The immortal had long hair and a smile on his face. He looked heroic and carefree. It's Immortal Martial Zenith. The people from the Extreme Martial School are here too. The Extreme Martial School was also one of the powerful clans of the primordial era. It was created by the Extreme Martial Great Emperor and had a long history. There were a few returning void experts in the sect, and they were very powerful. During the Immortal Court, even the Grand Immortal Judge did not dare to casually provoke the Extreme Martial School. A few people rushed forward and enthusiastically tried to get close to the Extreme Martial Immortal. He had obtained the title of Extreme Martial Immortal and was the direct disciple of the current sect leader of the Extreme Martial School. It was extremely likely that he would take over the Extreme Martial School in the future. At this time, another group of yellow-robed immortals flew over on golden clouds. Golden light flickered and holy light appeared in the sky. From afar, they looked like gods descending. The eyes of the immortals lit up. Some of them had already recognized who they were. The people from the sun-worshipping temple have also arrived. It's really lively today. All these supreme experts who usually don't show themselves have actually all come out. Looks like there's going to be a good show today. After the arrival of the people from the extreme martial sect and the sun-worshipping temple, many other powerful immortal sects arrived one after another. The usually cold and quiet sky dome cloud peak became especially lively. But not long after, a dragon's roar resounded through the clouds, causing the boiling clouds to instantly quiet down for a few breaths of time. However, a dragon scuttled over from afar, using the sky as the sea as it soared recklessly. After this divine dragon rushed over, another 5 divine dragons came one after another. They landed on the clouds in the sky and transformed into human forms. There's a total of 6 of them, 4 men and 2 women. All of them had an extraordinary bearing and an imposing manner. Seeing these people, the surrounding people came back to their senses and started to discuss spiritedly. The leader of the divine dragon race was covered in a blue robe and had his hands behind his back. He stood proudly on top of the clouds with an extraordinary aura, as if a god had descended. This is the hidden genius of the divine dragon race, the Ice Frost Divine Dragon. Oh my god, the divine dragon race actually sent him to participate in the battle? Ice Frost Divine Dragon. I have never heard of this person in the group of elders of the divine dragon race. The Ice Frost Divine Dragon is not an elder of the divine dragon race, but his strength is stronger than any of the elders. He has already stepped into the profound spirit god realm 100,000 years ago, and his strength is unparalleled. All these years, he has never interfered with any of the disputes in the immortal world, and has always ignored the matters of the divine dragon race. He has devoted himself to cultivation, and I wonder what kind of terrifying strength he has now. This time, Qin Xianlong, Xiang Yang, and the others are in trouble. What can that motley crew do? If not for the divine eagle race and the sword ancestor, how could they contend against the immortal court? I think they are going to make a fool of themselves this time. That's right. He's just a nobody. I wonder which low-level world he came from. What a joke, a frog in a well. The surrounding immortals discussed animatedly, and the sound of mockery rang out continuously. When Martial Immortal and the people of the sun-worshipping temple saw that it was the Ice Frost Divine Dragon that came out, they were all astonished. They hurriedly walked forward and cupped their fists in greeting. Ice Frost Saint, long time no see. How have you been? Martial Immortal said with a smile. The two of them had met each other once before. The Ice Frost Divine Dragon's face was as cold as ice, but he did not disrespect Martial Immortal and nodded. And his words were like gold, and his temperament was ice cold. But the people of the extreme martial sect did not mind. I see that all of you are the young talents of the divine dragon race. Why don't I see the noble elders? The leader of the sun-worshipping temple, Taoist Qian, asked carefully, why is there a need for the elders to come over for such a small matter? Let's just have a fight and end this matter earlier, so as not to waste our precious cultivation time. A young lady dressed in flowery clothes behind the Ice Frost Divine Dragon said with a smile. Her name was Rainbow Divine Dragon, and she was an extremely talented person in the divine dragon race. At such a young age, she had already reached the peak of the profound spirit god realm and could not be underestimated. Oh, are the people of the divine dragon race that confident? Su Yun is a newly risen supreme expert. To be able to make Qin Qianlong, Wei Ming, and the other extremely famous immortals of the immortal world follow him, he must have some tricks up his sleeves. So what? Without waiting for the immortal to finish speaking, the Ice Frost Divine Dragon shouted out in surprise. It's just a useless mob. Since you have offended my divine dragon race, you should be prepared to be annihilated. These words were not arrogant, but this was a world where strength was respected. With strength, one would have the right to speak. Just then, a small group of pitch-black figures appeared in the distance. Everyone looked over and exclaimed, Su Yun is here. Everyone's gaze shifted. Su Yun, accompanied by Faceless, Kai Tian and a group of experts from the Allied army flew over. His eyes were like deep pools, pitch black and deep, releasing a baleful aura as he stared straight at the people from the divine dragon race. Other than that, Wei Ming, Qin Xianlong, Xing Bai, and the others did not appear. Everyone quietly watched as Su Yun and the others arrived, not making a sound. But very quickly, a voice broke the silence. "Are you Su Yun?" The source of the voice was actually Martial Immortal. Su Yun frowned and glanced at Martial Immortal. Although it was just a simple sentence, he could hear the disdain in Martial Immortal's words. However, he only glanced at him once, and then immediately shifted his gaze, not replying at all. Ignored. Undisguised disregard. Anger flashed in Martial Immortal's eyes. As the next sect leader of the extreme martial sect, his position was extremely high, and no one dared to treat him in such a manner. How could he not be angry? How dare you? Martial Immortal is talking to you. How dare you not answer? The people from the sun-worshipping temple could not stand it anymore. One of the Taoists roared and rebuked Su Yun. "Who made the rule that I have to answer him when he speaks to me?" Su Yun coldly snorted and said, "Furthermore, if you want others to respect you, you have to learn to respect others. If not, you will only be asking for humiliation. Bastard." Martial Immortal was completely enraged. He stomped his feet and flew, wanting to teach Su Yun a lesson. But at this moment, Taoist Qi Yin stopped him. "Great Immortal, no need to be angry. Just bear with it for a while. He is already a dead man. Why be so angry for such a person? It's not worth it." Although Martial Immortal was furious with the Divine Dragon clan here, he could not be too presumptuous. Furthermore, Kai Tian's strength was not ordinary, and the chi emitted by the masked fellow was also extremely powerful and did not seem to be easy to deal with. He was only one person. If he were to rush forward, he would probably suffer. All right, since Taoist Qi Yin has said so, I can't be bothered to bicker with these dead people. Martial Immortal snorted and retreated to the side. Su Yun did not look at them. Su Yun could tell with a single glance what cultivation they had, and that they were not worthy of his attention. Stepping onto the top of the clouds, the man in the cold robe finally opened his eyes and looked at Su Yun with a frosty gaze. "You are Su Yun?" A cold voice came out. "That's right. The Patriarch ordered me to come and subdue all of you. You are just a motley crew with weak abilities and are not enough to fight against my Divine Dragon clan. If you are willing to kneel down and surrender, I can arrange for you to forge a Divine Dragon statue for my Divine Dragon clan to protect you from death. If you are stubborn, today all of you will be buried." The Ice Divine Dragon's cold and arrogant voice came out. Chapter 1395. Strength would always be able to decide everything, no matter which plane it was. Although the Ice Divine Dragon did not see through Su Yun's strength, in his eyes, this person was just an undeserved reputation. He looked at Su Yun arrogantly. The disdain and coldness in his eyes were without a doubt. "Are you the person sent by the Divine Dragon race to fight?" Su Yun sized up the Ice Divine Dragon and said in surprise, "Are you an elder of the Divine Dragon race?" He felt that the Divine Dragon race should have sent an elder to fight. After all, Su Yun was the leader of the Allied forces and was also the strongest. Unexpectedly, when he said that, the surrounding people burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha ha! He actually doesn't know the Ice Divine Dragon, and he thinks he's an elder of the Divine Dragon race. Ha ha! I think this person is just a frog in a well. Ha ha ha! What a joke!" The sounds of ridicule could be heard, but Su Yun's questioning voice made the surrounding people look down on him even more. Su Yun frowned. He did not expect his guest to be wrong, but this person's strength was not any weaker than those elders. Sad, pitiful, laughable. The Ice Divine Dragon crossed his arms across his chest and shook his head. "Why is such a person so persistent? Hurry up and surrender. I never thought that the Divine Dragon race would be so overbearing. I have nothing to do with the Divine Dragon race, but you brought people to provoke me and even used some resources to harm Xiangyang. Today's battle will determine life and death." Su Yun said indifferently. Xiangyang had died, and even his soul had been scattered. If he did not kill 2 divine dragons today, how could he let this matter rest? It seems like you still don't understand your own situation. Are you very confident in your strength? Su Yun asked. In my eyes, you're like an ant. This is not called confidence. It is just reality. Oh, you think you will definitely win? Su Yun snorted. Since that's the case, then why don't we add some more chips in this decisive battle? Chips. The Ice Divine Dragon's heart was moved. He did not understand Su Yun's intentions. I heard that your Divine Dragon clan possesses a precious treasure, the soul condensing pill. After taking it, you can reform your soul. I'm quite interested in it. If I win this battle, you can hand over the soul condensing pill to me. If I lose, I can give you the thing you've been yearning for day and night. I've hidden that thing. If I don't hand it over, you won't be able to get it. How dare you, bastard? You actually dare to covet my soul-gathering pill. The Divine Dragon clan members behind him immediately cursed. This fellow simply doesn't know what's good for him. However, the Frost Divine Dragon didn't care at all. He raised his head and stopped the people behind him from speaking. He asked in a deep voice, "The thing that you yearn for day and night? What is that?" Clearly, he didn't know much about the evil sword, so those who knew about it wouldn't deliberately leak this information. After all, if the information was leaked, they would have to face even more enemies. Say yes. At this moment, a figure appeared behind the Frost Divine Dragon. Looking over, it was a middle-aged man standing at the back of the Divine Dragon clan. He had his hands behind his back, had a goatee, and was dressed in a brown robe. His chi was powerful, and his strength was probably above the Frost Divine Dragon. Seeing this person speak, the Frost Divine Dragon was slightly startled. After thinking for a moment, he nodded and turned to Su Yun. "All right, since it's like this, I promise you." "Very good." Su Yun brandished the dual moon sword with one hand and pointed it at the Frost Divine Dragon. He said coldly, "In this decisive battle, life and death do not matter. Life and death. Of course, but you should think about your own life. You're asking for so much, but you don't know what kind of situation you're in. Do you really think that you can kill me with your methods?" The Frost Divine Dragon did not even put Su Yun in his eyes. This was his confidence in his own strength. Su Yun's eyes turned cold. How could he not be angry? The Divine Dragon clan had provoked him time and time again, and Xiangyang had died tragically in their hands. Now, these people were humiliating him in front of everyone. If he, Su Yun, could still endure it, how could he be called a demon? I don't understand why a nameless person means that he's weak. If he's famous, then he must be a powerful existence. If he were to judge a person's strength based on his own thoughts, wouldn't that be narrow-minded? Are you saying that I'm narrow-minded? The Frost Divine Dragon's eyes were filled with killing intent. Isn't that so? Su Yun said without any trace of politeness. With that said, the crowd went into an uproar. This was a blatant provocation. To provoke the Frost Divine Dragon like this guy called Su Yun would probably die a horrible death. Do you think that just because you defeated the Grand Immortal Judge, you can look down on everyone? Su Yun, you must be clear. There will be no Sword Ancestor or Divine Eagle Clan Patriarch to help you. You will die a horrible death. The corner of the Frost Divine Dragon's mouth revealed a sinister expression. Although the Divine Eagle Clan started a war with the Immortal Court for the sake of their clan protection treasure, they are not afraid of the Immortal Court at all. After taking back the treasure, they are willing to stand up against the Immortal Court and return peace to the immortal world. They are indeed a great clan, and the Divine Dragon Clan, who is as famous as the Divine Eagle Clan, is actually so arrogant and arrogant. Today, I have broadened my horizons. Su Yun said indifferently. This sentence was like a fuse, completely enraging the Frost Divine Dragon. Not only him, the few Divine Dragon Clan members behind him were also completely enraged. Big brother, kill him. I want his soul to be refined into a magic treasure. A strong Divine Dragon Clan member roared. Don't worry, his soul. I will take good care of him. Killing intent erupted from the Frost Divine Dragon's body. He took a step forward and walked into the middle of the clouds in the sky, staring straight at Su Yun. The cold air on top of the clouds suddenly dropped, and there was no longer any temperature. Even the thick clouds seemed to have been frozen. Power. The powerful aura that came from the Frost Divine Dragon's body. This aura was actually even stronger than his dragon's might. From the looks of it, the Frost Divine Dragon's cultivation was indeed not to be underestimated. Su-Yun was going to fall this time. Indeed, the higher one stood, the more painful it was to fall. This brat was lucky enough to destroy the immortal court, but he didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. This time, it could be said that he was unlucky. The surrounding people thought to themselves. The Frost Divine Dragon stood on top of the clouds. As he released his aura, the dragon's soul appeared. Behind him was an incomparably huge dragon soul body that was completely made of ice crystals. That was the influence of his main body, and his entire body looked exceptionally mighty. Seeing that, Su-Yun's expression did not change. With a tap of his feet, he landed on the top of the clouds. His aura was restrained, and his aura was not released. His entire person formed a clear contrast with the Frost Divine Dragon. But in the eyes of the Frost Divine Dragon, his so-called low profile was the performance of a weakling. He couldn't even release his aura, and he still dared to speak so arrogantly. What a joke. The Frost Divine Dragon thought to himself, this was how the world was. The strong were right, and whether the weak were right or wrong depended on how the strong understood it. There was no such thing as fairness to speak of. I will let you know what true power is. I will let you understand how terrifying the so-called Divine Dragon is. The Frost Divine Dragon said coldly. He opened his mouth and spat out a terrifying snowy wind toward Su-Yun. The surrounding immortals hurriedly retreated to avoid being affected by the spells of the two. The snowy wind engulfed Su-Yun, and layers of frost condensed on his body, as if to freeze him. However, the Frost Divine Dragon frowned. He had thought that this attack would be enough to suppress Su-Yun, but unexpectedly, the speed at which the frost condensed seemed to be much slower than usual. Humph, this brat must have some kind of treasure to resist the wind and snow. If it was an ordinary immortal, even their immortal meridians and immortal eyes would have been frozen by now. The Frost Divine Dragon's eyes turned cold. He suddenly leaped into the air and struck towards Su-Yun with his palm. The power of ice burst forth from his palm, and the thick clouds on Su-Yun's side immediately turned into particles and disappeared with the wind. However, he was still floating in the air without a single wound. Is this all the strength of your Divine Dragon clan? Su-Yun did not move at all. He stared at the Frost Divine Dragon, and the ridicule in his eyes became obvious. The Frost Divine Dragon was enraged. He formed a seal with both of his hands and cast another spell. A large amount of ripples appeared around Su-Yun, and his divine power rippled. However, this divine power was extremely weak and not thick. Su-Yun looked left and right, but he still had no intention of dodging. You're already dead. The Frost Divine Dragon's ice-cold voice came out, deciding Su-Yun's fate. Within the ripples, hundreds of millions of ice and frost rushed out. Each ice and frost had the power to destroy everything, causing the air to tremble like a wave, fiercely striking towards Su-Yun. Before he could even react, he was covered in ice and frost. Dong! 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 In the blink of an eye, the place he was at had turned into a pile of ice mountains. It was like a graveyard. The surrounding people looked at the ice mountain in silence. Only after a long time did someone look left and right. Is it over? Isn't this a little too fast? What a terrifying technique. If I was in it, I'm afraid that even if I used up all of my immortal power, I wouldn't be able to resist it. The Frost Divine Dragon truly lives up to its name. Sounds of discussion rang out. The Frost Divine Dragon secretly snorted, his face revealing a look of boredom. However, he enjoyed the praises of the people around him. Divine dragons were proud, and they liked to be praised by others. But just then, with a bang, the gigantic ice mountain suddenly shattered, and a figure appeared at the place where it shattered. It was Su-Yun. He was unscathed. What? Astonished voices rang out. The Frost Divine Dragon narrowed his eyes. Kai Tian and Faceless were not worried about Su-Yun at all. This attack was far inferior to the great immortal judge. That's all you have. If I had known earlier, I would have let Faceless fight. Su Yun shook his head, looking at the frost divine dragon in the distance. As if he had lost interest, he said, "Do you think that you are very strong? Are you very confident? I don't know where your confidence comes from, but since you were so arrogant and looked down on us, I will let you know if your contempt is deserved or not." With that, he raised the twin moon sword in his hand and swung it forward. It was a light sword strike, as if it was moving at will. However, the divine power that burst out from the sword edge was like the mournful roar of a demon at the end of the world. It swept forward, and the entire sky was instantly dispersed by the sword chi, fiercely slashing towards the frost divine dragon. When this move was used, everyone was dumbstruck. They were indescribably shocked. Was this a move that an immortal could use? Chapter 1396. So he had underestimated this person. Only then did the divine ice dragon come to his senses. The person he had always looked down on was not as weak as he had imagined. How could he dare to be careless? With a leap, his body released a burst of blue light, transforming into the body of a 10,000-meter long divine dragon. He soared into the sky and dodged the sword chi. "You can dodge it?" Su Yun snorted. He suddenly raised his hand and grabbed the air. The huge body of the divine ice dragon instantly disappeared in midair. What was going on? The sudden disappearance of the divine ice dragon caused everyone's attention to be unable to keep up. But very quickly, cries of surprise rang out again, and a shocking scene appeared. The insufferably arrogant divine ice dragon's huge body was actually grabbed by Su Yun with one hand. His palm seemed to have a myriad of powers as he grabbed a small piece of meat on the divine ice dragon's neck and pinched it in his hand. The divine ice dragon wanted to struggle free, but it failed. The huge power was like a shackle, restricting all of his movements. At that moment, the frost divine dragon finally understood how frightening this unknown, insignificant person was. The confidence that he had used to ignore its spells, the strange methods, and the terrifying brute force were all manifestations of his strength. It was laughable that he had looked down on him from the beginning. Then, in his eyes, how comical would all of this be? The divine ice dragon understood that he had underestimated his opponent, but it was not too late. If he fought with all his might, there was no way he wouldn't have a chance. He believed in his own strength. The person in front of him was not his match. He roared a few times and urged his technique again, wanting to escape. However, in that split second, a cold sword wrapped in divine power slashed towards his head. Killing intent burst forth, drowning the divine ice dragon like a flood. The divine dragon's eyes widened as he watched the death god's scythe coming at him. He wanted to struggle free, but he was powerless. How could this be? Why? In that split second, the divine ice dragon's heart surged with endless astonishment. Death was so close, and he himself was so weak. How dare you? You dare to slay a dragon? The moment Su Yun moved, an angry shout came from the other side. It was the middle-aged man standing at the back of the divine dragon race. "Why wouldn't I dare?" Su Yun said coldly. His hand did not stop at all. The sharp sword edge, with the support of the god power, cut towards the ice divine dragon without hesitation. It wasn't a magnificent strike, but it was an extremely terrifying strike. Dragon warriors had powerful physical bodies and astonishing defenses. Even if the heavens fell and the earth split apart, they wouldn't be destroyed. This was especially so for the ice divine power. Their bodies were completely made of ice crystals, making them much stronger than ordinary divine dragons. But after this person's sword, the ice divine dragon's head was cut off like a piece of paper. No! Angry roars came from the mouths of the divine dragon clansmen. But it was all in vain. The divine ice dragon's head directly fell down, and the headless dragon body also softened. Su Yun was like holding a huge rope with one hand. He opened his mouth and swallowed the divine ice dragon's dragon soul, then threw the dragon body to the side and stood there quietly. The surrounding immortals were dumbstruck. There was silence. No one could believe that the divine ice dragon had lost, and lost so quickly, He didn't even have the time to use his own special skill, and was beheaded by Su Yun. Extreme martial immortal's face alternated between red and white. He thought that Su Yun would be tortured to death by the divine ice dragon. He had been waiting by the side to watch a good show, to see how this arrogant and conceited fellow would die a miserable death, but who would have thought that the plot would be completely reversed? The divine ice dragon was actually so weak. The people from the sun-worshipping temple were shocked. Su Yun's actions simply made their hearts jump. And what was even more unexpected was that Su Yun actually killed the divine ice dragon without hesitation. Could he withstand the anger of the divine dragon race? Dragon Slayer. How many years had it been since this had happened? Furthermore, he had even devoured the dragon soul in front of the divine dragon race. To the divine dragon race, this was a great humiliation. This is a declaration of war against the divine dragon race. Su Yun is crazy. He's crazy. Everyone was in disbelief. This was simply a challenge to the divine dragon race. Just then, a cold, killing intent enveloped Su Yun. Su Yun frowned. He looked over, only to see the middle-aged man standing at the back of the divine dragon race walking forward, his pair of bright yellow eyes staring straight at Su Yun. "Do you know what you've done?" He gritted his teeth and said, "I know." "Then are you prepared to bear the wrath of the divine dragon race?" "Prepare to bear the wrath of the divine dragon race? What? Are you angry?" Su Yun laughed coldly. "Do you want to kill me to avenge the divine ice dragon? What a joke. This is a life and death duel. You can kill each other. You have already set the rules. Isn't that so? He killed me. I died. I killed him. You guys seem to want to take revenge for him. I still died. It seems like I was right to say that the divine dragon race was tyrannical and unreasonable. However, aren't you afraid of being ridiculed by the people of the immortal world for doing this?" When the middle-aged man heard this, his face changed, but he didn't know how to refute. After a while, he snorted, "You just used a despicable method to win. It can't be considered open and above board otherwise with the divine ice dragon's methods. How could I not deal with you? Sneak attack." Hearing that, Su Yun laughed in his heart. It had to be known that the one who made the first move was the divine ice dragon. In terms of time and position, it was impossible for him to sneak attack the other party. This was completely unreasonable. It seemed like saying anything to the people of the divine dragon race was unnecessary. They could even turn white into black. Wasn't it a waste of breath to reason with them? "I admire you for distorting the truth and twisting words." Admiration. However, there are so many people around, and they're not blind. You say that I launched a sneak attack, but could it be that those with discerning eyes can't tell? Did I launch a sneak attack or not? Did I use proper means to win this duel? Humph. I said you launched a sneak attack. That was a sneak attack. Otherwise, you can ask the immortals around you. The middle-aged man snorted. Su Yun frowned and looked towards Ultimate Martial Immortal and the others. Unexpectedly, Ultimate Martial Immortal was the first to jump out and shouted without any trace of politeness. "This person is despicable. It's a sneak attack. It's an unfair victory. He even used such a despicable method to harm the divine dragon race. He deserves to be killed." Someone from the extreme martial school. You have to think carefully before you speak. Disaster comes from the mouth. Su Yun stared coldly at Ultimate Martial Immortal, a strange cold light flashing in his deep eyes. Ultimate Martial Immortal's entire body trembled. He was a little afraid and did not dare to look straight at Su Yun, but after thinking about it carefully, he felt relieved. This brat even dared to offend the divine dragon race. He wouldn't be able to live for long. So why should he be afraid of him? You're just a person who sells his head. Why are you so arrogant? Do you think that you can be lawless just because you obtain some luck? Today, we will never admit to using such a despicable method to obtain victory in the duel. Not only that, you have harmed the divine dragon race, and the divine dragon race is the pillar of my immortal world. You must pay the price for your actions. Daoist Qi Yin also spoke, his tone even colder. When Kai Tian and the others heard this, they were unable to contain their anger. You're simply lying through your teeth. You fellows who fawn on the powerful, don't you just want to climb up the divine dragon race? You actually went against your conscience to say such words. Kai Tian, there's no need to be angry. These people's mental states are like this, so their cultivation will probably not improve any further. What's there to be afraid of? What's there to be angry about? Su Yun laughed, but his eyes were like torches as he looked at the people. Everyone, you have to think this through. Do you want to persevere to your own heart, or do you want to go against your conscience? Don't stand on the wrong side. Otherwise, you will regret it for the rest of your life. His smile that was not a smile fell into the eyes of these people, causing many of them to feel fear and trepidation. At a time like this, Su Yun was still so relaxed. Impossible. No matter how powerful he was, it was impossible for him to contend against the divine dragon race. Everyone was thinking, but they did not know that their actions had already made Su Yun want to kill them. Enough. Just then, the middle-aged man finally could not hold it in any longer. He growled and glared at Su Yun. You killed my divine dragon race's genius, the ice divine dragon. Destroying the future of my dragon race is an unforgivable crime. Now, I will give you a chance. Cripple your own cultivation, submit to my dragon race, and follow me back to the divine dragon race to obediently accept the patriarch's punishment. Otherwise, I will consign you to eternal damnation. Eternal damnation? With just you? Su Yun coldly snorted. If you think you have the strength, then come at me. You, the ignorant, are fearless. The middle-aged man was enraged. The killing intent in his eyes grew stronger and stronger. He did not hold back anymore. With a leap, he rushed towards Su Yun. I will let you know what is true strength. You want me to know? It's not certain who will know. Su Yun snorted. He did not hold back anymore. He leaped up. The god power in his body surged like a roaring flood, rushing out from his body and striking the middle-aged man. The man had originally wanted to directly crush Su Yun, but he did not expect Su Yun to completely ignore him, and what was surging out of his body was actually god power? Such pure god power? How is this possible? What realm was he in? The man was shocked, but he could not retract his move, only to see Su Yun's sword slashing over. God power! It was not something he could contend against. In a hurry, he hastily revealed his dragon form, but it was too late. The sharp sword pierced through his chest, and he let out a miserable scream as he fell to the ground, half dead. Quiet. It was terrifyingly quiet. It wasn't that the surroundings were quiet, but that everyone's hearts were quiet. Their heads buzzed and went blank. The scene in front of them completely shocked their bodies and minds. The middle-aged man was actually cut down by Su Yun's sword. Su Yun leaped and landed in front of the gigantic divine dragon. That sword strike had split open half of its body, and the divine power rippled out from the wound. The divine dragon wanted to use its dragon breath and immortal chi to force the divine power away, but it was not a match for it, and was completely purified by the divine power. He had underestimated his opponent. Seeing Su Yun walk over step by step, the divine dragon's huge eyes revealed a look of shock. This person did not even use his full strength when fighting against the icy divine dragon. Chapter 1397. Strong. Too strong. At this moment, the surrounding immortals finally understood that Su Yun did not rely on the divine Eagle Lord and the Sword Ancestor to defeat the great immortal judge. He relied on his own strength. Even if the divine Eagle Lord and the Sword Ancestor were to fight against the people from the divine dragon race, they would not be able to kill them in one move. The current Su Yun was even stronger than when he fought against the Grand Elder Immortal. The chi in his body had completely transformed into god power. It was profound and exquisite, penetrating through the heaven and earth, and was not something an immortal could contend against. Immortal Extreme Martial's expression was extremely marvelous. Just a moment ago, he was still continuously humiliating Su Yun, thinking that he was just a boastful, ignorant, and arrogant fellow. But now, from the looks of it, Su Yun wasn't, but he was. His face was burning hot, but his heart was even more terrified. He could not figure out what kind of personality Su Yun had. If he dealt with the people from the divine dragon race, and then dealt with him, what should he do? He really wanted to run away, but under the watchful eyes of so many people, he would definitely be laughed at if he ran away. What was there to be afraid of? So what if this kid is strong? My extreme martial school is not someone to be trifled with. Could it be that after offending the divine dragon race, he still dares to provoke my extreme martial school? Immortal Martial Zenith thought to himself. He wasn't as worried now. Compared to Martial Immortal, Taoist Scarlet Flame of the Reverend Sun Taoist Monastery was clearly panicking. The situation was completely out of his expectations. He had never imagined that this fellow would actually be this powerful. Even the legendary divine dragons couldn't withstand a single blow from him. Bastard, you dare to kill me? The divine dragon race will not let you off. Seeing Su Yun walking towards him step by step, the middle-aged man's face revealed a look of panic and anxiously shouted, "At a time like this, are you still going to put yourself in a supreme position?" Su Yun's eyes were cold. The dual moon sword in his hands trembled along with his footsteps. This was originally a fair duel. Life and death were decided by the heavens. But I defeated the Ice Divine Dragon, and your Divine Dragon clan wants to attack me and not admit victory? Oomph. Since you don't follow the rules, then don't blame me. As for the Divine Dragon race, even if I let you go, your Divine Dragon race will definitely not let me go. So why should I spare you? No, the middle-aged man roared. But Su Yun did not have the slightest bit of mercy. He leaped up, and his divine power was like a collapsing sky, smashing towards the middle-aged man's gigantic dragon body. Whoosh! The dragon's body instantly exploded, and even its soul was torn apart by the divine power. A rain of blood floated down from the sky, and the entire sky was dyed red. It was extremely miserable. This was like the Azura hell. Yet another dragon was slaughtered. The surrounding immortals widened their eyes and looked at the falling rain with trepidation. All of them were dumbfounded. Dragon Slayer. As an ancient clan of the immortal world, the divine dragon race was extremely powerful, and the people in the clan were extremely protective. Not to mention slaying a dragon. Even if someone injured a dragon, the divine dragon race would still come out in full force and would not rest until they killed the other party, so no one dared to provoke the divine dragon race. But today, not only did this person called Su Yun kill a dragon, he even killed more than one. Was he not afraid of the divine dragon race? This guy's finished. It was over. This fellow is completely finished. Extreme martial immortal thought. In his opinion, Su Yun was already a dead man. It was just a matter of time. No one could withstand the anger of the divine dragon race. He truly doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Just because he has some ability, he dares to act recklessly. I want to see how he will endure the anger of the divine dragon race. Taoist priest Qi Yin snorted. Let's watch the show and see how this guy ends up. Heh. The immortals recovered from their shock. They were surprised at Su Yun's decisiveness and coldness, but they also felt pity for this person. There was no need to talk about the consequences of offending the divine dragon race. But Su Yun was completely unaware of it. After killing the middle-aged man, there were only 4 people left from the divine dragon race, 2 men and 2 women. Their auras were not strong, and from the looks of it, they were the younger generation of the divine dragon race. They had come here today mainly to follow the divine ice dragon. As a genius with extraordinary talent in the divine dragon race, the divine ice dragon was powerful and had a high realm. He was the idol of the young talents in the divine dragon race, and they had come here with the attitude of observing and learning. Of course, they also wanted to personally witness how their idol, the divine ice dragon, would trample on that arrogant and insufferably arrogant nameless person to death. However, reality was the opposite of their thoughts. The divine ice dragon was dead. Not only the divine ice dragon, even the stone dragon protector who had escorted them here had died. The people they could rely on had all been killed by the person in front of them. Seeing that person's gaze sweeping towards them, the 4 people from the divine dragon race couldn't help but tremble. Even the dragon god was afraid. This person, just how capable was he? Everyone was lost in their thoughts. I have always abided by the rules of the duel, but you divine dragon race people have broken the rules and acted recklessly. Su Yun snorted. The chi field spread out, enveloping the 4 people from the divine dragon race. The 4 of them trembled, not daring to move, but then they heard his voice. Now, according to the rules, you should hand over the soul congregation pill to me. After all, this was an agreement. The soul congregation pill is not in our hands. A young man among the 4 said with a trembling voice. The soul congregation pill was a clan-protecting treasure. How could they have it? Furthermore, although the divine ice dragon had agreed previously, it had never considered the soul congregation pill, because no one would believe that Su Yun could actually defeat this group of proud divine dragons. So, you want to break the agreement again? Su Yun raised his eyebrows. No, 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 we will not break the agreement, but the soul congregation pill is in the clan. You have to let us go back no matter what, right? Otherwise, how are we going to get the soul congregation pill for you? The young man said nervously. Do you think I'm an idiot? Su Yun snorted. Let you go back? Wouldn't that be a one-way trip? But if you don't let us go back, then even if you kill us, you won't be able to get the soul congregation pill. This was the truth, but Su Yun was not that stupid. He sneered and said, Since it's like this, then wait here. I believe that the matter here will soon reach the ears of the Divine Dragon Clan. Very soon, the experts of your Divine Dragon Clan will be on the way. The 4 of them gathered together. All of them were extremely afraid. Su Yun was able to easily kill the Divine Ice Dragon and the Stone Dragon, so his strength was definitely much stronger than the 2 of them. To kill the 3 of them, it would only take a moment. Unexpectedly, at this moment, a long whistle suddenly came from afar. This whistle was mixed with dense resentment and anger. Everyone looked towards the source of the whistle, only to see a black bolt of lightning rushing down from the sky. With lightning speed, it landed on the clouds. Lightning descended, violent winds arose, and an imposing aura burst forth. When everyone focused their gazes to look, they saw an enormous black dragon that was almost 30 kilometers long, spiraling in the sky. The black dragon's eyes were like copper bells, and its entire body was covered in scales that seemed to be cast from iron. It had 6 claws, and every single one of them was extremely powerful. Seeing the black dragon, the 4 Divine Dragon Clan people were overjoyed. Elder Fighting Dragon. Elder Fighting Dragon? Fighting Dragon? Could it be the 7th strongest in the Divine Dragon Clan? Oh my god, he's actually here. Why is he here? Has he been nearby all this time? The surrounding crowd immediately became excited again. I never thought that the Fighting Dragon would also come. Master, be careful. Kaitan, who was behind Su Yun, looked at the majestic figure and could not help but speak to Su Yun. Great! Elder Fighting Dragon is here. Elder Fighting Dragon, you must avenge Big Brother Ice and Lord Rock Dragon. The young man shouted excitedly. I was on a mission nearby, but I smelled that a divine dragon had fallen here, and there was more than one. What the hell happened? The Fighting Dragon moved his huge dragon head and let out a deep voice. It's him. Without waiting for Su Yun to speak, the few people immediately started shouting. This person used despicable methods to kill Big Brother Icy Divine Dragon and Lord Rock Dragon. It's him. Not only that, he even insulted my Divine Dragon Clan, saying that my Divine Dragon Clan is a bunch of deceivers. This person is simply too arrogant. The 4 of them seemed to have turned over a new leaf as they started to clamor. But their words made Su Yun feel disdain. He looked at the Fighting Dragon coldly and snorted. Is distorting the truth what your Divine Dragon Clan is good at? This is a duel between me and your Divine Dragon Clan, and before the duel, we had already agreed that life and death would not matter, and I relied on my strength to kill the icy Divine Dragon. But the Stone Dragon among you wanted to rush out to take revenge for him, but he was not strong enough and was still killed by me. All of this was originally the fault of your Divine Dragon Clan. It was caused by you. But who would have thought that you would actually speak nonsense here? Slander me. What a joke. With that said, the Fighting Dragon frowned, but quickly relaxed. He looked at Su Yun expressionlessly. Oh, so you mean? Or is it that my Divine Dragon Clan isn't? Don't spout nonsense. My Divine Dragon Clan is a great clan in the immortal world. How could it be like what you said? Don't splash dirty water on my Divine Dragon race. If what you said is true, then with so many immortals here, they must have seen it with their own eyes. Then, I want to ask these immortals, is what you saw what this person said? My divine dragon clan, is it a despicable and despicable clan that goes back on its word? With that said, he released his dragon might, and a pair of terrifying dragon eyes swept across the immortals. Seeing that, Su Yun frowned. This was a threat. As expected, all the immortals present did not dare to make a sound. They had heard of the great name of the battle dragon before, and it was said that he had personally killed more than 100 immortals at the peak of the spirit god realm. He was naturally belligerent and had a fierce personality. There was once a person from an immortal sect who accidentally offended him, and that immortal sect and their sect were actually forcefully destroyed by the battle dragon in a single day. He could offend anyone, but he could not offend the fighting dragon. Everyone remained silent. The fighting dragon was very satisfied. He turned his head and stared at Su Yun and snorted. Look, no one made a sound. This proves that what you said is all nonsense. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.